These images are real. This is not make-believe. You too can witness the myth. Join us for the 24-hour Le Mans weekend on June 13 and 14, 2020. Take advantage of our early offer until January 31st on ticket.lemans.org.
Well, Harry, we're going to be getting on the way very shortly, just getting one or two things sorted out here on stage. But I think while that's happening, we do have a good chance to speak about what else is going on this weekend and how other people can qualify for the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final, because the situation with this is we have 9 pro teams that are going to race in the Super Final and 9 Pro-Am teams. Now, the pro teams who can qualify, they've already kind of been decided and put into a championship, or they've been invited here to get it out for one shootout, and that is Team Highlands Racing. You can see there Darren King on screen. But if you're at the Autosport show today or tomorrow, you can qualify for the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final via the activation area. You can go on the rigs we have set up there, set a time, and if you're in the top 3 at the end of the weekend, then you qualify straight through to the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final to race in one of 9 Pro-Am teams.
Absolutely, and I've said before that I like the idea that that's here, because it's a case of, it's not just those who think I've got a good chance now. I could set a really fast time, I can get myself to the Super Final and be a part of the Super Final in their team. But with the venue that we're at, it gives people a great opportunity to come along and just try maybe sim racing for the first time, see if they get a bit of a liking for it, and they might be a kickstart to a future for them where they think, yeah, that might become a new hobby. It's an opportunity to do it. If you've not got the equipment at home, you have that chance to do it here, and hopefully there'll be a few people come away from this event thinking, I'm going to start trying and see if I can get on the stage with these guys next year.
Yeah, so the 9 Pro-Am teams will be made of 18 drivers who have qualified via Forza Motorsport 7 via the Rivals events, and one of those is currently going on at the moment, and it will be going on until the 19th of January. We've had 2 Rivals events so far. They go on for 9 days, and you can set as many times as possible. So we've had 6 drivers of the 18 go through there. 3 more will go through by the 19th of January. But also, after this event, we're going to have 3 of the 9 AM drivers qualified this weekend via the Motorsport Games activation area. However, if you're watching somewhere else around the world, then at the FIA World Endurance Championship races at Sebring and Spa, that is where the top 3 at each of those races who go on the rigs and set a time will also go through. So there's 3 different ways to qualify for the very first time in the Le Mans Esports Series.
Yeah, opening up doors for qualification is always a good thing. The more doors there are, the better it's going to be. You're going to find a larger pool of drivers that are going to be fighting their way to be the very best. And that's always going to be the best thing. You want the best drivers to be taking part, and the amount of drivers in there, the larger it is, the better it is, for them to be able to find those best drivers. So these guys are all here for a reason. They all look very calm, surprisingly, considering what's going on. Doesn't look like they're phasing too much. Hopefully they get back in the zone as they enter turn 1 and 2 when the race restarts, hopefully soon.
Yeah, well, let's find out how our pole sitters are sitting. It is Williams Esports, and Louise Beckett is with Kuba Brzezinski.
Kuma, you're with Williams. What does this do for your mentality, having to restart the race?
To be honest, I'm quite happy. First of all, we're not using ghosts, and I'm starting from pole position, so I just hold my track position. And secondly, I just got that racing feeling now, so it's a bit easier now, a bit less stress. So it's quite good.
The pressure is on for your team, because if you don't win here, then that's it for you.
Yeah, for sure, but at the same time, it makes it easier. No calculating points or anything. We just need to win, and we just focus on that, so it's win or nothing.
It's an easy goal then.
Yeah, exactly. Only one target.
And who do you see as your biggest competitors?
Oh, there's quite a few. Veloce is going to be really strong. Alesi's team coming here next to me is super fast. JOTA as well. So yeah, quite a good competition here.
I mentioned earlier that we're going to have driver changes happening in this race. So how do you divide the time between the three drivers?
We are lucky enough to have three equally fast drivers pretty much, so we can do whatever we want. We'll see how it works out with traffic. We've got a set strategy that I'm not going to say now, but we're going to be pretty flexible.
All right, thanks very much. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Louise. Right, what we're going to do now, I think it's, well, we've got a little bit of time. We're just going to go through who's actually starting the races for each team. So for those of you here at the show, and for those of you watching online, if you're here supporting any teams in particular, you know exactly who's going to be out there. So for BHK Motorsport, if you're here, they are in the pod all the way down to your left. Dario Vallelunga is going to be starting the race for them. Radicals Online, who didn't get here until this morning. Adam Tierney is going to be starting for them, so they're on the back foot because they missed hours of practice yesterday. Mariano O'Connor will be in for Lightspeed Esports. Sean Arnold is for JOTA. Fordzilla in for Fordzilla. It will be Perpy, and then we have. Of course, for Veloce, James Baldwin. Williams, it will be Kuba Brzezinski, who we just heard from. JOTA Esports, it will be Kamil Pulowski. For Lazarus, it will be Lewis Bentley. And then we will go through the rest once we get back to the race. But we are away and racing for 2 hours. It's the team's Invitational as they go through turn number 1. It looks like JOTA has taken the lead, and that is someone who has gone off into the gravel. I fear that may have been JOTA once again hitting problems, and it was. So JOTA into the gravel trap through turn number 1, and they drop all the way to the back, so their chances of getting the win and qualifying straight through to the super final have now diminished. It's going to be a huge task for them to come back from that, but up to Tete Rouge, the first 11 teams still very, very close together. The JOTA Esports Academy leading the way at the moment as they go onto the Mulsanne straight. We're in the Ford GT40 Mark IIs, and we're going to be going all the way down the Mulsanne with no chicane. So now it's all about getting in the slipstreams and trying to make as many positions as possible.
Yeah, striking similarities between the fake start we had last time and this start. The same thing. JOTA Esports team going from second to first within the first few corners, and JOTA having potentially the same mistake. Turn 1 and 2 is very difficult in this car. Turn 1 isn't flat, even though you'd like it to be. It's one of those where the weight shifts around in the car, and then you hit the brakes hard for turn 2, and the car's still moving around. There's so many cars near you, it's so easy to make a mistake and have contact perhaps, and that's why JOTA find themselves at the back again. But it's race far from over. 2 hours still to go, as we've got cars side by side down the Mulsanne.
Yeah, that looks like BHK and Radicals going side by side. They're both closing in on Lightspeed. There is BHK, so they're on the outside of Lightspeed Esports at the moment. They're trying to go up into 7th place as we get to the curve in the Mulsanne straight, and it looks like they have indeed taken that position at the moment. Lightspeed Esports are just ahead. But they're going to have the inside going into the braking zone, and that's going to be some problems for BHK. I don't know what's going on out front. There we have someone off into the gravel. It looks like a team rejoining. Was that the Williams team, I wonder? It looked like their livery that it was rejoining. Veloce have gone up into 3rd place. Team Highlands Racing have come from the back of the field from 10th place all the way up to 4th place, so they're absolutely flying at the moment. Our Team Highlands Racing, the hard chargers there, up into 4th place so far. They've just kept out of trouble, Harry, and now they find themselves one step away from a top 3 finish. Yeah,
great start by them, and great start by the Lazarus team. Now they're up to 2nd as well with that mistake from JOTA ahead of them on the grid, and then the Williams team as well. There's something about Lazarus and this track that they seem to like.
Big lunge there, sorry Harry. Team Highlands Racing trying to go up the inside of Veloce, and I think they were trying to back out of it more than anything. In the end, they got away with it. Veloce staying third, Team Highlands Racing staying fourth. This is BHK once again getting on the grass there in the braking zone. Similarities to what Lando Norris did when he came and had a go earlier. They avoid the barriers though, unlike what Lando was able to do, unfortunately. But here we go then, up towards the Porsche curve. BHK are in 9th place. FGTR trying to battle with them in 10th place. Lazarus are up to 2nd. VP Gaming are on the move, and we're looking at them now. So in the red and white livery there, VP Gaming are up to 4th. Team Highlands Racing, I think, have dropped to 7th place. It looked like they'd lost a couple more positions just in the background. We can see there Team Highlands Racing, in fact, just sneaked back through to 6th place. So they're going backwards and forwards at the moment, and we pick up that battle now. They have Williams just in front, and Team Highlands Racing brave around the outside there through the Corvette curves. Oh, and off into the gravel there. Unfortunately, one of the teams having an off there just at the end of the curves, and going to drop all the way to the back of the field. I think that was Lightspeed Esports potentially who went off, but in fact we'll pick that up. Was it Radicals maybe? I think it was Radicals online, so that's a shame for them. They've dropped down to 11th place as we complete lap number 1 of 32.
Yeah, there's two nasty zones on this track. Coming onto the Mulsanne on the exit, and that, the yellow curves that we saw on the exit, that left-hander towards the end of the circuit. If you run the car over there, you're really dancing with the devil there. The car and the curbs do not mix on those particular parts of the track, and they can spit the car off for no apparent reason, as you've seen with Radicals unfortunately finding out already on the first lap of this race. So we've got another 31 to go, so there's still plenty of opportunity for other drivers to find themselves out there. But from speaking to the guys, they're doing everything they can to not be out there. They don't want to run the risk of being put in the wall by those curbs. They'd rather sacrifice a bit of time by not going all the way out there and keeping their car clean.
Well, in our Pro Team Series, Team Highlands Racing finished all the way, ended that round, which was 2 races, of course, all the way down in 16th place, which was at the very back of the field. But here, going along very well. They're up into 5th at the moment, so that potentially highlights the fact that that was maybe just a little bit of bad luck for them at the first round of the Pro Team Series. This the Invitational, of course. There we can see VP Gaming. I think they're currently in 6th place. In fact, make that 4th, of course. They're in that lead battle, so just ahead of them is Veloce, Lazarus, and then our race leaders as well, which is the Alesi Esports Academy. But just sitting off the back there at the moment, aren't they, our VP Gaming? They just need to try and close in, but it looks like we've got a battle forming ahead between Veloce and Lazarus, who appeared to be side by side. So we'll pick up that battle for 2nd and 3rd in just a second. Fordzilla in the background have gone up into 10th place, so they're trying to move back up the order. Here are Team Highlands Racing once again battling away with Lightspeed Esports, and Team Highlands Racing trying to make the move for 6th place.
Yeah, side by side on the Mulsanne is going to be pretty much the case. I think every single lap if we get the opportunity to. The slipstream is so effective on this track, especially with these cars as well. I'm sure they're sitting in the cockpit, contemplating a lot of the time where they could have put an extra click on the final gear just to give them an extra bit of top speed as their nose to tail into the braking zone, but nothing coming of it.
See Team FGTR are on the move. They started down in 11th place. They're up to 9th, so just broken into the top 10. We go on board with Team Highlands Racing. They're trying to chase down Lightspeed Esports at the moment as they make their way up towards the Porsche curves. It's still the Alesi Esports Academy who lead from Veloce, Lazarus, VP Gaming, Williams, Lightspeed, then Team Highlands Racing, who we're watching at the moment, who are trying to get through into 6th place in towards Indianapolis. We go now, and Team Highlands just getting a little bit sideways. That perhaps the trickiest corner on the circuit in this car, isn't it?
Yeah, so you come through that fast right hand, it's undulation, it's cambered as well, so the car's just moving around underneath you, and you hit the brake pedal hoping that it's going to stop and still be pointing in the right direction when you actually get to the turn-in of the next corner, the sharp 90-degree left-hander. It's pretty, as you say, the most troublesome corner on the circuit, it appears from what we've seen in practice. So there's a variety of different lines they seem to be taking, whether it's on purpose or the car dictating where they go, I don't know, but somehow they managed to get it turned in and carry on their way.
It seems the pack are fairly close together just looking up the road as they entered the Porsche curves. BHK are just behind this, and the more that Lightspeed and Team Highlands Racing battle, the more that BHK are going to close in. They're 1.6 seconds back from that battle at the moment, and BHK started right at the back of the field, so they're having a good race so far. They've kept out of trouble and they're starting to pick up the rewards of that. They're up into 8th place now, so a good few positions gained for them, but just ahead as we now come down to the Ford chicanes. I wonder if Team Highlands Racing might line up a move here on Lightspeed Esports. They don't. They think they're better of it for the time being. But out of the chicanes we come now and down onto the start-finish straight. We are looking back at that battle. Here is the Alesi Esports Academy. We were looking back from them just a second ago. They're going now into the Dunlop chicane, and in the background there, someone getting all out of shape. I think that might have been Team Highlands Racing. Have they managed to pick up a place, I wonder, as we now head underneath the Dunlop Bridge and down to the S's. Veloce we're on board with, looking back at the moment at Lazarus, who are trying to hold off third place. So Lazarus doing pretty well at the moment, and they've essentially brought in a new whole different range of drivers with them for this event.
Yeah, they'll be very pleased with the start they've had. No, both the guys here who are driving and the drivers who obviously have had to stand down for this event, they'll be pleased to see their colleagues doing so well. It's a team sport at the end of the day. That's why they're all here and why they're representing under different drivers but the same team. And they can't complain with third at the moment. They started fifth, so they've gained 2 positions. They're holding on to the back of Veloce just about, where they're both just about losing touch with the Alesi Esports Academy drivers who are clearing off up the road, which they'll be pleased about. So they're probably just about broken slipstream range, I think. So as long as they keep it clean, they might be ones to watch later on to see if they get called back in.
Well, there is Veloce. I've got to say, the Alesi Esports Academy, since taking the lead, they've done a very good job just to hold a gap of about 300 feet, but they've just managed to keep that gap from Veloce. It seems the race is starting to settle down now. I say that we have got a challenge for third place. I think that was VP Gaming trying to go into third place ahead of Lazarus. We'll pick that battle up in just a second, and there it is. Now you can see it in the background, and that is indeed VP Gaming going into third place. Can they hold it when we get to the braking zone though? This is Veloce in second place we're looking at. Behind them though is a battle for third place going on, and VP Gaming, who dropped down the order a little bit at the start, and now starting to come back up the order, and they're into third place now ahead of Lazarus. So that's 1 down, 2 more to go, and they look the quickest on track at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, they might have to make a decision soon whether they want to start trying to work together to try and close up to the leaders to make sure they don't get away, because as we mentioned, it's a winner take, so there's no point fighting for second, third and fourth when you're letting the leader get away from you, because that's race over and event over essentially. They need to work together almost at this stage to keep themselves all in the fight, and then they can scrap it out later towards the end hopefully.
Yeah, to remind you, this is the Teams Invitational. The winners qualify for the Mans Esports Series Super Final. The rest of the results after that are essentially irrelevant. So it is winner takes all or nothing now as we go back to Team Highlands Racing, who had a very busy race so far. They're now in 6th place as we head up towards Arnage, and they're going to have to get on the defensive once again with Lightspeed Esports trying to come around the outside. And a good move that there from Lightspeed Esports. Good on the brakes around the outside. Team Highlands Racing, good respect shown by them, and Lightspeed Esports up into 6th place. Yeah,
brilliant move going around the outside. No, it takes respect from 2 drivers to make that move work. We've seen, as you say, Lando crash into that tyre wall on the exit. It's so easy to do when it's just you, let alone when you're going side by side with another car. So great respect shown by those guys, and hopefully they'll continue their battle throughout the rest of the next few laps at least.
But battling like this, aren't they just harming their progress and their chances of getting a top 3 result? Of course, the win is what they all want, but battling away like this on lap 3 of 32 isn't doing either of them any favours, is it? It's good to watch for us, but for them, they're just dropping further back from the top 5.
You're right, and it depends on the drivers in the cockpit whether they feel that they can actually go faster rather than sitting behind the car and just make sure they don't cost each other time. If they feel that they can go a lot faster when they're the car in front, they need to make that move, but they need to do it without costing themselves time during the overtake, which that move, it wasn't ideal, but it didn't cost them too much time. They can carry on as they were, and hopefully they'll be able to stick together and claw their way back towards the rest of the pack in front of them, but they already look to be quite a way behind, unfortunately.
I could just see the gap between the 2 leaders, the Alesi Esports Academy and Veloce, has come down only ever so slightly. It's now 1.4 seconds between Veloce and the Alesi Esports Academy, who currently lead the race. We're staying with this battle at the moment. You can see the car getting all out of shape under braking, but this is the battle we were indeed throwing to. It is Veloce in 2nd place at the moment. The gap seems to be coming down. I wonder how they're feeling at this moment in time. Louise is with the team at the moment.
where's that Veloce car behind us? We need to make sure we're covering that line. But at the moment, no mistakes are being made, which is just because the calibre of these drivers are so high. That's why they're at the front of the pack. And just carry on pounding those laps in, make sure you don't make mistakes being the car following, and you never know, you might get lucky with a mistake from the car in front.
And what do Veloce do? Of course, we're following now their second place. What do they do when they catch John Alesi Esports Academy? That might be a strange question. You'd expect they would just try and go by, but if they start a bit of a tussle, then of course we've got the likes of VP Gaming just behind who could close in.
Yeah, it's a strategical call because they'll have to look at whether the pace that they can run at the front is enough to pull away from third, fourth place behind them, and then they can scrap out between themselves alone later in the race. Or they'll have to look at the fact of which drivers they got lined up to come in. Are they going to need to get track position to then try and make sure that later in the race they're not susceptible to coming under pressure from behind from other cars? It's a call that hopefully we'll get to see them make if they can close that gap up just a little bit.
I've got to give a shout out to Williams in 5th place because they do seem to be closing in on the top 4 as a whole at the moment. They are having a pretty decent stint in the race so far. This is only lap number 4 of 32, so still a long way to go. And this BHK Motorsport, of course, a real team who competes in the European Le Mans Series, but they have an esport presence as well, as many teams now do. They're sitting a little bit down the pack at the moment, down in 9th place. And for them, I guess they're just going to try and hope that their strategy, whatever that is, can help them come up the order. Just ahead of them, of course, is JOTA. We haven't spoken, I don't think, enough about them. They're in 8th place at the moment. They went off at the very first corner of the race into the gravel, got back on the track, and now they've got back up to 8th. You'd say even winning from there is going to be a bit of a big ask, but they're putting in a good performance, I'd say, so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to pick yourself up now when you've had a mistake or an incident at the start of the race which has put you at the back. You're in a good position, you start 4th, and then by the exit of the turn, first few turns, you're in last place. It's never a good feeling, and to not let that get to you as a driver whilst you're in the cockpit is a big thing. You need to be stronger than that mentally to be able to go, right, now I've got a race on my hands, I'm going to put my head down and get it done. And at the moment, Sean Arnold doing a decent job. He's getting back through the field up into 8th, as you say, so already made a few places, and there's still quite a long way left of this stint. They're at least, well, not maybe even halfway through their stint. The first pit stops we're expecting maybe lap 8 onwards, so if they're going to go longer than that, he's still got plenty of time to get his head down, use that clean air that's in front of him to try and put in some fast times.
When do you reckon we'll see the first pit stops? Of course, all 3 drivers have to do at least 30 minutes. And we spoke about potentially drivers doing two drivers doing 30 minutes and then 1 an hour, or maybe splitting it down the middle between all 3 drivers. But when would you expect to see the first stops happen?
Depending on how they're planning their strategy, it could be as early as lap 8. I think it's going to be the earliest cut-off points. They've got to make sure they cross over that half an hour window, that 30-minute window, because if they don't, they'll be disqualified essentially. So it's better to be safe than sorry. They'll have to work out what sort of lap times they're running, how that works out over the fact that they're running 7 or 8 laps. It's just under, I think, 4 minutes. It's about 3 minutes 50 or so they're running. So 8 laps should see them through comfortably. We may see some pit stops then. They may have all gone for the same strategy and go long on the first stint. We don't know at this stage.
Well, we're going back to Team Highlands Racing and Lightspeed Esports, who are probably going to be sick of the sight of each other by the end of this race. This is BHK a little bit further back that we are looking at now. They're just inside at the top 10 at the moment, but BHK sitting in 10th place. It looks like they've actually just lost a place there to Radicals Online, so I think a little bit of mistake. It looked like they may have run wide there, but BHK now dropped to 10th place, so a frustrating mistake for them. They've got plenty of space behind them though, so they've just got to try and compose themselves now and go back after Radicals Online, of course. Bit of a gap back to Fordzilla. Team FGTR have had a couple of issues throughout the race, but it's down in 10th. How frustrating is that, Harry, coming from your own experience? In fact, we'll come back to that in just a second as we pick up Team Highlands Racing once again, battling with Lightspeed Esports. I think in the tow, it looks like Team Highlands Racing have gone through. In fact, they're going to be side by side down into Mulsanne corner. Under braking, Lightspeed Esports are going to try and hold it round the outside, just about missing the gravel trap, and will still be side by side, I think, down to Indianapolis. We're on board with Team Highlands Racing. We can see one of the drivers closing in behind, but we can't see Lightspeed Esports, who are to our left. It is JOTA, in fact, who are the team closing in, so they're going to be very happy with this, to see 2 teams ahead battling away towards 6th place. They've got a very good chance at taking 6th very, very quickly here.
Yeah, they'll be hoping there's a bit of coming together into these next few corners. They can just nip through without being held up too much, because obviously the problem they might run into is they're going to make it a three-way battle and end up battling all between the lot of them. There's a car running wide in front of them, and that might be them getting position right there and then.
Yeah, Lightspeed Esports running wide there, and JOTA now help themselves to 7th place. So 1 down, 1 to go for JOTA. Well, in terms of this little battle anyway, they'll be hoping to make a couple more perhaps after this, but JOTA now lining up Team Highlands Racing for 6th place. To remind you, JOTA qualified up in 4th place, and they were only just over a 10th away from taking pole position, so they have the speed to be battling with the likes of the Alesi Esports Academy, Veloce, VB Gaming, Lazarus and so on, but unfortunately due to a first corner incident they have dropped down the field. We're on board with Lightspeed Esports, who are in 8th place at the moment. Ahead of us is the aforementioned JOTA, who are just trying to get the run on Team Highlands Racing. I think patience is the key sometimes when you're coming back through the field as well. You don't want to have 2 stabs at making an overtake, Harry. You want to make it once, make it cleanly, and then get away.
Yeah, it's very easy to let the red mist descend when you're fighting your way back through the field from an early race incident, but they're doing a good job. They're up to 7th now. They've got 6th place in their sights. Sean will be hoping that he can get in front of this car in front of him, and then all that clear space that's in front of that car is his to use, so they can start clawing up towards the car in front, pumping in those fast laps whilst he's got the opportunity, and then hopefully giving his teammates a good opportunity to carry on the rest of the job when they step in later in the race.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about their tactics in just a second, but for now we're going to go on board with Team Highlands Racing sideways through the first corner there. Now into Dunlop chicane, they've run wide. I think they're feeling the pressure here a little bit from JOTA, and that is going to be the easiest overtake JOTA make all day. They now go up into 6th place, so the recovery well and truly on now. They're back up into 6th place. It's not where they started. 2 more places to go before they get back to their starting position of 4th, but JOTA, it's that presence they carry, Harry, isn't it? They were 2nd at the first round of the Pro Team Series. That presence they carry with them means people like the Team Highlands Racing, anyone in fact, when you see JOTA in your mirrors, it's very likely you'll make a mistake and let them go through.
Yeah, as you say, they carry a big presence with that name on the car. And also the drivers they've got driving for them, they're very well known. 2 very easy overtakes now. That would have been exactly how Sean would have wanted it to be. The case of coming up behind 2 cars battling, one makes a mistake and nips through there, half a lap later, and not even that, the other car makes a mistake, I've nipped through there as well, and now look at all this clean air he's got in front of him to carry on catching up. Although we're on board with the Lightspeed car, obviously the one that's lost out the most from that 3-way battle that we saw. They're now at the back of that trio.
Yeah, let's talk about Lightspeed, because they've got drivers from Australia, Mexico and from the UK as well. For them to get time to practice together has been very difficult, so what they did decide to do is come here on Tuesday, it was earlier this week, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, stay together and practice that way.
Yeah, I mean the team aspect of this competition is massive, so any opportunity you've got to practice with your teammates in the same place at the same time, so you're not just doing it over a headset or online, you're actually there in person, seeing what they see, feeling what they feel in terms of the car and the way it reacts to certain changes. Is everything. Le Mans Esports is a team sport. That's why we've got 3 drivers here representing each team. So yeah, that would be great for them with the limitations they've got, as you mentioned, with being scattered all around the world with their locations, to come together in one place to then do their practice before a big event like this be worth a great deal to them.
I guess it's the case, isn't it? Because you could just go in and practice on your own, but when there's 3 of you, you want to put 3 cars in a private lobby and kind of practice racing each other, practice slipstreaming each other, qualifying times as well if you keep all the cars ghosted. So is that what it's all about when there's 3 of you together rather than just the one? Could you say, give everyone, this is going to be your stint times, go and practice that? Is that not the same as having the 3 of you on track together? Yeah,
I mean, if they can do it in person, they work out what stint they want to do and practice hopping in and out of a rig and carrying on from where they left off. The fact that they can also practice racecraft together, these guys won't want to practice with other people and other teams. Obviously, they don't want to give away any secrets that they might find. So practicing together with as many cars as possible to learn as much as possible is always crucial and key for them. And the fact they've had the chance to do that, it might have been a little bit late coming to this event. You don't want to be making last-minute changes. Of course, coming into an event, you want to be nice and settled and know exactly what's going on. But they seem to be doing okay for now. They would have liked it to go a bit better, I think, but still a long way to go.
Well, Team Highlands Racing, Darren King in the rig for them at the moment. 7th place on track is Team Highlands Racing. and they've been the centre of attention for the large majority of the race. But Veloce, they continue to close the gap to the leaders. It's only 1 second now. Let's hear from the team. They are with Louise Beckett.
Difficult to try and keep up with them.
Well, let's hope that James can continue the good work and get ahead. Back to you, Chris.
On to race for them as a last minute substitute to make sure they can at least compete. So I think James will be looking ahead for his teammates and thinking, I just want to get as far as possible to give him the best opportunity and give my other teammate the best opportunity we've got as the race goes on. But if he gave him the opportunity, he would want to pass him, absolutely. But it's just closing that. It's been stuck at around a second for quite a few laps now. And I reckon he'd be wanting to close that down if he can. I think making progress. When you're second, you might as well be looking at trying to get that gap down and overtaking if you can, whilst you've got a little bit of a gap behind you.
Yeah, well, we did have one group of four at one stage for the lead, didn't we? Now it's kind of split up into two groups of two because VP Gaming and Lazarus are battling for third and fourth. We're on board with Veloce at the moment, and there you can see the JOTA Alesi Esports Academy just ahead of us. We're getting to the stage where they could be eligible to make a pit stop. They have to do at least 30 minutes each of the drivers in this 2-hour endurance race. 3 drivers in each team to remind you. And we're getting to the stage of that pit stop, and this might be and this is nothing against the JOTA Alesi Esports Academy. They might be sitting there thinking, well, they just can't catch us, and maybe that's the truth. But this might be where, if Veloce want to make a move, that will be the best time to do it.
Absolutely, there's always the undercut or overcut opportunity, with these races. So we'll have to see. Lap 8 now is when we think we might see the first one at the end of this. So we've got a great vantage point here to see if drivers are getting ready to come onto the stage to take over. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But say there are multiple ways that this could go. We'll have to see how that unfolds over the next few laps. Whether Veloce want to pull the trigger first, whether JOTA Alesi pull the trigger first, or whether they both follow suit, come in early, stay out. We'll have to wait and see.
It's of course Camille Polowski who's in for the JOTA Alesi Esports Academy. We're on board with Veloce, James Baldwin, the 22-year-old from High Wycombe. Of course, was crowned world's fastest gamer last year as well. So he carries a title which is pretty handy to have, I'd say, in esports. Pretty relevant at this stage, but he's closing in on the JOTA Alesi Esports Academy team, and it seems to be getting closer all the time. Now we go back to the Lazarus team who are sitting in third place at the moment, and Lewis Bentley is in for them at the moment. So Lewis Bentley doing the first stint. Again, not a huge name within the Forza community, more known for driving on other platforms, but seems to have crossed over very well, and running in third place at the moment, being the best of the rest, if you like, not battling for the lead at the moment. There's still a long way to go, but should anything happen between the two leaders, when and if they start battling, Lazarus could be there to pick up the pieces.
Absolutely, you've got to be in the right place at the right time. Whilst the leaders are potentially going to have a battle on their hands in the near future, third place is a place to be in case there is any coming together. So they've obviously got close protection from behind that they'll have to keep an eye on as well. Similar to what the leaders have got. So if these guys start battling from third and fourth, then we might see a bit of more of a move from Veloce as the race goes on. But I say they're pretty much as close as they can be at this stage, with the race leaders right in front.
Well, there we can see the leaders just ahead. We go on board with Veloce at the moment, but it is Lazarus just behind who are holding off the Williams team. John Alesi ahead of us at the moment and doing a great job to stay in the lead. It was an academy that was launched in 2018 by former F1 driver John Alesi. Not only is it a team, but it offers training and support to sim racers, trying to turn them from sim racers into professional esports athletes. That's what the John Alesi Esports Academy is all about, and clearly that is working. Kamil Pawlowski, the 22-year-old from Poland, with them at the moment, and a world champion in project cars, 3 years in the last 4, so knows how to win big events like this, does Kamil, and I'd say that's showing at the moment with him holding off the pressure from James Baldwin behind.
Yeah, I believe Camille's also part of the World's Fastest Gaming Series that James actually won, so I'm sure there's a little bit of
as well.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's a little bit of beef between these two. Though he wants to come out on top on this time that they're battling against each other, as it seems like they seem to be getting closer and closer without actually thinking that they could get closer and closer. They'll be pushing each other around if we're not too careful.
I'd say this is it. I'd say it's game on now. This is the closest they have been. So, well, if you're tuning in online, if you've just tuned in, you've tuned in at the right time. If you're around the Autosport show in hall number 1 near the stage, then do come over, because it looks like it's about to kick off for the lead of the Autosport Team Invitational. Winner takes all in this one. It may only be lap 8 of 32, but this could be crucial with the first round of pit stops coming up. Don't forget the winner qualifies for the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final. If you're watching at home, you can also qualify for that via the Rivals events on Forza Motorsport 7, one of which is going on now until the 19th of January. And if you're here at the Autosport show, you can go to the Motorsport Games activation area, and if you finish in the top 3 on the Le Mans Esports Series rigs, set a time on those, completely free to take part, then you will also go and race at the Le Mans 24-hour at the Super Final. So all to play for this weekend, and by the end of the weekend we'll probably have our first 12 drivers, I'd say, lined up for that Le Mans Esports Series Super Final, and it looks like the first pit stop has just taken place.
Yeah, it looks like the Fordzilla team making their first stop at the end of lap 8, as we suggested it might be. I can see a few other drivers lurking around the edge of the stage, looking to pounce on the rig when they get the opportunity to. We've got one down the end there as well.
That's Team FGTR.
It is indeed, so they're making a pit stop at the first opportunity. So again, that's one of the strategies we said we might find, but obviously the two leaders that we've got next to us, they've stayed out for at least another lap, and the John Alesi guys have got a bit of a gap just at the right time when they needed it. I think with the slipstream effect down the Mulsanne, they managed to pull just enough of a gap in the first sector to, I think, avoid any kind of pressure into the hairpin at the end.
So that's Chris Chadwick out for Team FGTR. Pete Andrews jumps in the rig for them. And then for Fordzilla, Perpy has jumped out, and Anthony Deal has jumped in. So, well, we're going to take a very quick breather on comms. We're going to go down to Louise Beckett, who's with Tobin Lee.
Yes, I'm going to try and speak to our resident expert for Forza here at the event, Tobin Lee. Tobin, we're already seeing strategy with the front runners.
Yeah, there's two kind of races going on at the front. So we've got the John Alesi team who are working together in many ways with Veloce. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how much they battle, because the more they do, the more they'll be brought up into the second battle, which is formed of Williams and Lazarus. And Lazarus, a team that I know quite well, will be sure to try to capitalize on that if they can. But it's probably in the best interest of the top two to kind of keep themselves to themselves and just try and get away and build up that gap.
Okay, we've seen our first driver change just happening. They've got a minimum of 30 minutes, so what do you expect to see?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of variation. I feel like in this kind of competition, it's quite likely that drivers are going to work out who their most competitive driver is and really try and maximize that and get the most out of them, so therefore put them in for the longest amount of time that they possibly can. But we'll see, it's going to vary a lot.
Okay, thanks Tobin, speak to you later. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Louise. Well, it's been very close for third place since you've been away, and it's very close for the lead as well. We're looking back from our leader, John Alesi, Esports Academy. James Baldwin there for Veloce trying to close in, and it looks like we're side by side for third place as well. Williams trying to get past Lazarus. They're up the inside into the Porsche curves, and they just about make the move stick there. Brilliant stuff from Williams. Lazarus are going to try and fight back into the left-hander, but not enough room. There may have even been a slight bit of contact there, but Lazarus in the end choosing to back out. So Williams, who ran off into the gravel at the end of the Mulsanne straight on lap number 1, have now got themselves back into third place. An update on JOTA, by the way, they're still in 6th as they try and recover from going off at the first corner. But we must go back to our two leaders, because it is very, very close between the John Alesi Esports Academy and Veloce as well. We're in the Ford chicanes at the moment, just about to come across the line to start lap number 10. And there we can see Veloce trying to close in, but John Alesi yet again are holding off the pressure from Veloce very, very well. They've had pressure from about a second behind, but and then they've had some challenges now from Veloce, but Veloce just can't seem to be breaking them down at the moment.
Yeah, the John Alesi guys seem to be very good in the slow speed corners. Now, there's a lot of time to be made up in the slow speed corners, like that final chicane in the first few corners of this lap as well. They seem to be able to get that gap, so when they come to the Mulsanne, they've got enough of a gap to make sure that they're not in the slipstream range too harshly, to make sure they're going to be under pressure come the hairpin at the end of the Mulsanne. So as you can see again, we've just seen them in the final sector nose to tail, and coming towards the Mulsanne again, they've now got that little gap, little breather between them, which means they'll hopefully be out of reach of Veloce for their sake.
Well, Lightspeed Esports did just do a pit stop there. Mariano Acana, the Mexican, has jumped out, and the Australian Callum Lawrence has got in. So that is now the third team to make a stop, unless I missed one of them. But 3 teams have stopped, 9 teams yet to make their first pit stop. And we go back to this battle then, which is for the lead of the race. And Veloce have gotten alongside. Well, this is the first time that they've had their nose in front in the Autosport Teams Invitational, and it looks like Veloce are about to take the lead. There's a long straight to go though, no chicanes, don't forget, and the John Alesi Esports Academy still have time to try and get back through. It looks like they just seem to have a little bit more pace now getting towards the end of the straight. It's going to be down into the braking zone. John Alesi may look for the switchback here. The John Alesi Esports Academy, Veloce are going to try and hold off on the inside and turn it into a block pass, I'm sure, but let's see as we get down towards it. Veloce now have their full car in front and will now be able to try and block off any attempts from the John Alesi Esports Academy to come back through into the braking zone. We go, and that is move complete. So new leaders in the Autosport Teams Invitational. Veloce Esports take the lead of the race, and if the race were to finish now, they would be going to the Mans Esports Series Super Final to try and retain their title.
Absolutely, you can see James on screen looking absolutely ecstatic with his move for the lead right there. No movement in his face at all. He hasn't changed his expression from being in second or first. He's in the zone. That's what it is as an esports driver. You've got to be in the zone, and when you overtake someone for the lead, all you care about is getting away from that driver and extending the lead. He knows that's what his job is to do. John Alesi, I don't think he'll be too disheartened by that. Obviously, they know the status in terms of the team dynamics and how the strategy is going to play out. So I reckon they'll be quite comfortable to sit there. As long as they can hang on to the coattails of the Veloce guys, I think they'll be quietly confident as the race goes on.
I heard James Baldwin look like that when he won World's Fastest Gamer as well. Just holds that expression all the time. But we go back on board with the John Alesi Esports Academy. There's a long way to go in this race. Harry, I'm going to put you in the seat of the John Alesi Esports Academy car. What are you thinking now? You've just lost the lead. You're probably coming towards the end of your stint. What is it you do at this moment in time?
I think unless there's a clear opportunity, I think they'll be quite comfortable. I'd be quite comfortable to sit behind that Veloce car, knowing that I think arguably James is probably the best driver out there. Now, we've seen what he's capable of in many series. As we've got the John Alesi car going a little bit wide and losing a bit of time, so that's not what they want to be doing. They don't want to be doing that at all. That's giving the Veloce guys a bit of that extra confidence, maybe a bit of self-doubt coming into play now as they're getting squirrely on the exit as well. They're losing more time in this final sector. That is not what they want to be doing.
I'd say it may be a pit stop about to come up, perhaps for John Alesi Esports Academy. Is this a good time to come in? It isn't. Well, I think just a little bit rattled by the fact that they had lost the lead there, John Alesi Esports Academy. This is bringing Williams back into play and Lazarus as well. So the Williams car starting to close in. Of course, Kuba Brzezinski in for them, and Lewis Bentley in that Lazarus car are also out.
Yeah, it looks like the weather's rolling as well. You see the headlights on, the skies are darkened. I don't know if any of these guys have done any wet practice. I'm sure they have, but I'm hoping it won't be that way, especially for the Veloce and John Alesi guys who are out front quite comfortably at the moment. But headlights ablaze, clouds are rolling in, the mist is rolling in as well. It's getting pretty murky out there.
Well, it can happen. I think we know from our experience in Le Mans. Thankfully, when we were there, it did happen, but of course it can do. Now, let's pick up JOTA. VP Gaming have unfortunately dropped down a little bit. They've just dropped off the tail of Williams, and they're now under pressure from JOTA. So JOTA, who are on the recovery here, I think it's been a tricky few laps for the VP Gaming team. They've dropped back from Williams, and now they're under pressure from JOTA as they come through Tete Rouge and onto the Mulsanne straight.
Yeah, a little bit of a discussion going on with the Veloce guys there. I think they're possibly working out when they want to be making a pit stop, as you can see on screen now. Hopefully we won't catch any hints and tricks on the phone there from Hayden as he's showing us on camera, but I think they're just working out how many laps they can get out of James before he has to obviously come in so the other guys can get their minimum half an hour stints.
So that's what you think the case is. He's going to go for the longest stint potentially now, and the other guys will reduce their stints to try and take advantage of the pace that James is currently on. But similar pace being shown by JOTA, if not even better. They're absolutely flying at the moment. We're going to go on board with them. Sean Arnold in the seat for them at the moment, and they're closing in on VP Gaming. Johan Ackerman is in for VP Gaming at the moment, and they are being caught here. What do you do now? Do you just let JOTA go by? They haven't had to do, well, not from what we've seen on screen anyway, huge amounts of hard overtaking. They've just been let by through mistakes, if you like. So this could be the first time we see them really have to make a move. But do you just let them by if you're VP Gaming, or do you just...
I don't think they've got a choice. I think they're being overtaken.
Yep, down the inside, JOTA are going to in fact take that position. The switchback though, VP Gaming draw back alongside on the exit there of Mulsanne. So down towards Indianapolis we go. I don't really think you want to be stuck on the outside here from what we've seen. The cars going through there, the characteristics, they're getting all out of shape, but JOTA are going to try and brave it. They're going to be on the outside then, going in towards Indianapolis. They tuck back in behind, in fact, go back to the outside once again. It's VP Gaming on the inside. JOTA, who are recovering from dropping to last place on the outside, we go on board, and they're going to stay all the way around the outside. Fantastic move. Can they complete it though? Up towards Arnage, it looks like VP Gaming have got back through. They're now going to be on the inside, and good driving from both teams. VP Gaming hold on, but they've run wide under braking, and JOTA go through. Brilliant overtake. So JOTA back through, and it looked like just a bit of a mistake there from VP Gaming. Johan Ackerman running a little bit wide, and that's allowed Sean Arnold to go up towards 5th place.
Yeah, very fair racing as they come into Indianapolis. They're giving each other space. Side by side today is incredibly difficult, so hats off to those guys for managing it. And then just a simple mistake potentially into the braking point of Arnage, running a bit wide, and JOTA are through. Another relatively easy move when it comes to it. Obviously they've done the side by side bit before, which was a bit scary, I'd imagine, but they just about got away with it, and now they're up into, 5th place now, so they're on the charge. Still well more than half this race to go. Other drivers come into it. They're not out of this. They are not out of this at all.
So JOTA then in 5th place, and we're looking at them at the moment. VP Gaming behind. It's a little bit of a gap then back to Team Highlands Racing, who are in 7th place. It's still close between the top two though, and I'll tell you what, the battle between 2nd and 3rd is the one that's perhaps the more interesting now. because Williams are closer to JOTA Esports Academy than JOTA Esports Academy are to the leaders, Veloce. So just behind this, Williams are starting to close in. That is BHK Motorsport in the first of the rigs, and they seem to be lining up for a pit stop, and indeed they were. Just as we left them, they were pulling in to the pit, so they become the fourth team to make their first pit stop. The weather definitely changing at the moment, so it's going to throw a different challenge to the drivers, and we're going to watch the pit stop now. Out comes driver number 1, in goes driver number 2. So that is Dario Vallelunga done. Roberto Pignataro jumps in the seat and adjusts the rig to suit him, and will now return once the fuel has gone in, and then we will be back ready to race. BHK, there they go into the pits now, but very close between the top 3. Williams were definitely closing in on the JOTA Esports Academy, definitely more than what JOTA seemed to be on Veloce. That might be changing, but with the weather conditions as they are, it just seems to be changing every corner now.
Yeah, they seem to be dropping back into the clutches of Williams rather than hanging on to the coattails of Veloce, it must be said.
Lazarus looks to be very close into third place as well, so we can't discount them at all. Anyone in the top 4, I'd say, at this stage of the race could win this one. It seems to be a lot closer than it was 4 or 5 laps ago.
Yeah, the weather plays a part now. It's not just track surface. It's the change of the lighting affects your your braking zones and your acceleration zones, your turn-in zones. So that could be playing a part as to why some drivers are finding it more difficult than others to adapt.
VP Gaming are coming back at JOTA here. They don't want to lose that 5th place. They, of course, lost it at Arnage on the last lap, but they're trying to take it right back. Sean Arnold on the outside there for JOTA, and then for VP Gaming, Johan Ackerman on the inside. Into Mulsanne, just a little bit of contact there. Sean Arnold's going to try and stay on the outside. Can he hold on? Well, he's going to still be on the outside then, up towards Indianapolis. Great driving from the pair of them. Johan Ackerman, we are on board with. To the inside of him is, of course, Sean Arnold, we're on board with, Johan Ackerman to the inside. So JOTA thought they probably had that move done and dusted. May have even been trying to forget about VP Gaming, but VP Gaming fighting back. When you're recovering in a race like this, Harry, it just gets harder and harder to make moves the further you go up the field. And well, running very, very wide there, VP Gaming. They've gone off the track, in fact, so big mistake from VP Gaming, and through go JOTA to reclaim that 5th place.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the same kind of thing last lap, didn't we, with them heading side by side into Indianapolis, and we said they were very fair and very clean. And I think maybe VP Gaming have looked at that and gone, we can afford to be a bit more aggressive, and unfortunately they've gone a bit too aggressive and ended up in the gravel, and they've lost the position again down to 6th, JOTA back up to 5th, and now they have got that clean air behind them to make sure they're not going to be coming under pressure for the next few laps at least, as they'll be pushing on towards potentially a pit stop within, I guess, the next 3 or 4 laps, because we're going to be approaching the hour mark, halfway point, so they've only got 3 or 4 laps before they'll have to come in as a compulsory pit stop and swap the drivers. Yep,
so it could get very busy on stage here in the next 5 to 10 minutes, with various pit stops taking place probably around the same time. It seems to me that a lot of teams have perhaps, well, of course the second pit stops could be done at different times maybe, but it seems most have gone with kind of the same strategy, do the long stint first and then the shorter stints after that.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, there's an opportunity where we might run into that some teams make their first stop while at the same time another team is making their second stop and changing all their drives, so they won't have to stop again, so they will effectively be a pit stop behind, but they won't then have to change another driver, so that's something to look out for in the later stages of the race. As you can see, the gaps at the top, John Lacey now 2.5 seconds behind Veloce and closer to the car behind, unfortunately for them, so I don't know what's happened. I don't know if it's the weather changing, the lighting changing, that's sort of disrupted their rhythm that they're in. So they looked very comfortable out front until the Veloce car got within overtaking distance, made the overtake happen, and unfortunately it seems to have hampered them quite badly.
Unfortunately it has, but very, very close it is between 2nd, 3rd and 4th at the moment, and you can just see them going through Tete Rouge at the moment onto the Mulsanne straight, and JOTA Esports Academy car getting all out of shape there. As we go onto the straight now, into JOTA is of course Kamil Palowski. The Williams car is the one causing the problems here, I think it's fair to say. Kuba Brzezinski is in for them at the moment, the 23-year-old from Poland, from Warsaw. It's his first Forza tournament, but has a World Championship to his name on race room, so he can win at the highest of levels, maybe not on this platform, but he's coming to the world of Forza. This is his first tournament and he's doing very well. But we're going to take a very quick break, go down to Louise, who's with VP Gaming.
Yes, I'm with the manager of VP Gaming, Darwin. Now, Johan just made a mistake there. Can he make that up?
I'm pretty sure he will. He is pushing very hard, and we are trying to get back up to your...
How long has he got left in the chair?
Maybe 4 laps.
Okay, and then who's going to go in after him?
Patrick will jump up in. Yeah.
Is he fast?
He is quick.
Hope so. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks very much, Louise. So yes, Patrick Beckham, of course, will be the second driver out for them. VP Gaming, a brilliant start to the race. They just seem to have struggled in this latter stages of the first stint. But what would you kind of put that down to, Harry? Do you think there's could have been down to a few mistakes, or VP Gaming just lost a little bit of momentum? I'd say they're definitely still within a region where they could come back into play, but at the moment they're doing the right thing by not getting too frustrated and throwing it all away. They're keeping themselves roughly in the fight, but of course they'll be frustrated with that last lap where, coming through this corner here, Indianapolis, they ran wide. It could be almost time for them to make a stop, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I think they'll be looking to do that, but I think what they benefit from early on was the fact they kept their nose clean, they kept the car out of trouble while others fell off the track. JOTA fell off, Williams went into the gravel. They benefit from that, and obviously as the race has gone on, those guys have now fought their way back through. Unfortunately, those guys look to be a little bit faster at this stage at least, so that's why they've worked their way back through, and VP Gaming will drop back down towards 6th. They're still a place up from where they started, so that's a positive for them to try and take into the rest of the race. But 6th place at the moment. 5 cars ahead of them, that it's going to be difficult to catch them, but same, we've got other drivers to come in. We just heard from their drivers, they're saying the next driver's very quick, so we'll have to wait and see how quick he is. Yeah, well, the
Alesi Esports Academy team running a little bit wide there, and they're now under all sorts of pressure from the Williams Esports team. Kuba Brzezinski closing in here on Kamil Pawlowski. Kamil Pawlowski does not only have to deal with the Williams team, but also, of course, the Lazarus team and Lewis Bentley in 4th place. So they've decided enough is enough now. Alesi Esports Academy become the 5th team to do a stop, and at the exact same time, Lazarus do their stop as well. So in for the Alesi Esports Academy will be Danilo Santoro, and jumping in for the Lazarus team is going to be Nathan Tague. So Nathan Tague jumping in for them. So that's now around half the teams who have stopped so far.
Yeah, you can see the challenge they face. So when they get in the rig there, they've got to adjust it to their liking compared to the driver that's just come out. So that's part of the challenge. They then obviously got to get warmed up in the car and get into their own groove and their own rhythm. And obviously when they're coming in this close together, it's never easy to settle in when you've got someone breathing down your neck from behind.
And people have had a look. Let's talk about those new play seats, because they come out next month. What do you make of them? Someone who's used multiple bits of equipment when it comes to gaming rigs. What's your view on the equipment?
I mean, they look great. They get the job done. No, these guys, I've not had a single complaint from them at all. No, they're all very happy with it from what I've heard. So if they're good enough for these guys, then that's a pretty good statement, I think, to have on your resume for selling play seats. Is going to be the esports guys love them. Well, Williams are just about to make a stop as well. Isaac Price looks to be jumping in, the 26-year-old from Gloucester. Of course, an F1 esports driver as well, and Isaac Price getting ready to jump in. Jumping out for Williams, of course, we just mentioned, will be Kuba Brzezinski. We've heard from him a couple of times. So Isaac getting ready to come in. I'd say at the end of the next lap, they will make their stop. They look like the next team that will make a pit stop. I don't think anyone else is immediately about to stop with them. But let's pick up what has happened now out on track. This is always the phase of the race where things can get a bit confusing. You kind of have to take the order with a pinch of salt. It's not really what it is essentially until all the stops are completed. But what we do know is the gap between Veloce and Williams is around 1,200 feet. Yeah, so Veloce got their head down, and James is doing what he does best. He's in the lead of the race. He's pounding in the lap, lap after lap, being consistent as ever. And that's what his job is at this point in the race. Now for the rest of the team is to just build that gap as much as he can, and then when he hands over, they'll be in the best place possible. But as you say, it's so difficult for us to keep up with exactly who's where, because you've got pit stops going on, people dropping a pit stop behind. and then all of a sudden we think, oh, what's happened to them? And then the other cars come in and they catch up and get the overcut potentially. But obviously Lazarus and John Alesi on the track together still, so they picked at the same time, so we can keep an eye on them.
Yeah, that's Lazarus. At least they come back out with someone to chase, don't they? But that could be a good. Some drivers prefer that aspect of having someone to chase. Some people like a clear track. I was always someone when I raced, like having someone to chase. What was your preference?
I liked a clean track because I couldn't crash into anyone at that point, so that was my preference most of the time. But no, when I think being the car behind is the nicer thing. You've got the opportunity to overtake and have try a few different things. And when you're the car in front, you can still learn as well, defending techniques. But when you're the one who's got to make the overtake, you've got something to gain. The car in front is the one who's got something to lose. So I think that's normally the way most people would look at it and think, I want to be the car who's got something to gain from this exchange, not the one who's going to potentially lose something.
It can be very hard to defending, can't it? It's particularly in esports, but it's something that requires practice, I guess. Just trying to pick yourself at the front and then trying to hold on. But and roles reversed as well. If you're not someone that enjoys coming through the field, it's always best, I guess, to put yourself in a race at the back and then try and come through as quickly as possible.
Absolutely, that's why working as a team with these guys is so important, because this is where they get to practice their racecraft. It's one thing to be okay in qualifying, but you need to have the racecraft to make sure you can make up for any poor qualifying, defending, attacking, that kind of thing. You need the whole host of abilities in your arsenal.
Well, there we go. You can see on screen we're about to have Kuba Brzezinski jump out of the seat. Isaac Price will jump in. So there we go. That is the stop almost completed. That is the driver change completed. The pit stop, of course, will be finished shortly afterwards. And I think you can see that was hard work there for Kuba Brzezinski as he walks away. Tell us about the physical element of esports, because most people think there's absolutely no physical element to it, but when you're competing on a stage like this for 15 laps around Le Mans, how difficult is that?
Of course, you're sat there in the position of a real race driver. You've got to turn the steering wheel, you've got to press the pedals, you've got the heat and the lights that play a part on you, as well as dealing with everything mentally that's going on in the race. It's another level that's added on, which a lot of people I don't think quite understand, and I get why they wouldn't understand that, but it's something you have to consider. You watch these guys and think, oh yeah, I can do that at home, but when you take everything in on their, where they are, how they do it, what they're having to go through, the practice they have to put in, that kind of thing, it all adds up to being a really high level of competition that they have to achieve.
It's the mental fitness, isn't it? If I can use that phrase, of just trying to keep pumping in the laps all the time, the consistency, but mentally just being able to keep in the zone, keep focused 100% for potentially an hour in a car that's very difficult to drive on a track that's of course very difficult as well.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I particularly love about this type of esports is the physical aspect of the fact that we get to look at these guys all pretty much replicating what real race drivers do. They're in the racing position, they're not sat there with a controller in their hand, they're doing it for real. And that's what I think separates this from a lot of them, and that's what I personally like to enjoy when I watch esports from where I am.
Well, Veloce, I believe, are preparing to make a stop. It looks like one of the drivers off stage is getting ready to come in, and second in for them will be Noah Schmitz, I believe. So Noah Schmitz will jump in the rig once James Baldwin jumps out. We're getting towards the near the end of the lap now, so any second now we in a few moments we'll see Veloce come in, and then we will see Noah Schmitz jump in the rig. They're just coming up towards Indianapolis at the moment. At the moment, a good gap. James Baldwin's put in a good stint here and has given his teammates a good gap to work with. But this race has got a long way to go in it, hasn't it? We can see JOTA up to second. Of course, they're yet to stop, but that just shows how well Sean Arnold is doing for them to recover.
Yeah, and you think, he's made that gap come down whilst also having to overtake people and come from the back, jostling with other cars, and then he's obviously utilised the clean air when he's got the opportunity to do so. So a great job from him. He'll be looking to carry on with that, as I think Aaron's now on the stage having a chat with him to see whether they're looking at coming into the pits as well. Because obviously we're getting end of lap 15. I don't know if they can actually go another lap and still have enough time for all their drivers to do the required stint length. So we'll keep an eye on that as they come towards the end of the lap.
Well, unless we miss some stops, I believe there's still around 5 or 6 teams yet to come in, unless we've missed one or two. but Veloce and JOTA are two of those that have yet to stop. So VP Gaming, I think, another one as well. They have not yet stopped, but they are on stage. VP Gaming are about to do their pit stops. It looks like Patrick Vecking is about to jump in the seat for them. But we go back to Veloce, who are pulling in the pits now, and indeed they do come in. So James Baldwin has brought the car home in the lead. That's all he can do now. His stint has been completed, and they will do their driver changeover. So jumping in for Veloce then will be Noah Schmitz. So Noah Schmitz jumps into the rig, the 20-year-old from Germany, finished P5 at the 2018 Forza RC. And also we have a change going on for the JOTA team as well. So the JOTA team also making their stop. Aaron Martin Pilkington now jumps in for them. So a very good recovery from Sean Arnold. I think it's fair to say did a very, very good job. And now Aaron jumps in.
Yeah, both drivers there for Veloce and JOTA both featured in the finals from last year, so they're obviously very experienced in this kind of scenario. It'll be interesting to see how they get on, how quickly they get up to speed.
Yeah, well, there we go. Just coming out of the pits now is Veloce, and they'll go through the Dunlop chicane there. This is now lap number 16 of 32. And see where they come out exactly onto track. So Veloce now do their stop. They're in the lead. Williams second, Alesi Esports Academy are third, Lazarus are fourth, JOTA are fifth, VP Gaming are sixth, Lightspeed Esports are seventh, Team Highlands are next, and it's Radicals BHK, Fordzilla and Team FGTR. That is the order as it stands as we hit the halfway stage of the race. We are on lap number 16 of 32 now, and Veloce carry a lead of 8 seconds at the moment, so their lead has extended over the pit stops as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive at the halfway stage. I mean, they'll be looking at that. I think the car's behind them thinking that's an awful lot of time to make up over the next half of this race, but they've got to do it. Winner takes all. Veloce in prime position.
Well, we're looking at Veloce at the moment. James Baldwin has been in the rig for 15 laps and left it with an 8-second lead, and Louise Beckett is with him now.
Smile from James. You put in a great run there.
Yeah, it was good. It was a long one, but yeah, we made the gap to second, and I think Virus and Hayden are yet to go, so we're positive, definitely.
How much did the conditions make a difference to you, or maybe to the next driver?
A lot, because the vision goes, because it's cloudier and it's foggier. It didn't quite start raining, but it's less grippy and you can't see as much, so to a driver that's not great. I think I got out at the right time, because if it starts raining you have to adapt. So I just said to Virus before the race, it's probably going to rain on your stint, so it's not yet, but it's going to soon, I think.
So he's just got to try and manage it now.
Yeah, he's got to adapt, but that's endurance racing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chris.
Been done, and now it's over to his teammates to see what they can do as well. This race is far from finished though. 8.5 seconds is the gap back to Williams, and then behind that we have the Alesi Esports Academy. So Williams have got themselves up into second over the pit stops. They have also stopped as well, and VP Gaming, I believe, have just completed theirs too. So I'm not sure if Radicals and Team Highlands Racing have done theirs yet. If they have, then they will be about to. But that's pretty much everyone completing their pit stops now. So first round of stops done. Now we wait for the second round of stops, and we're halfway through the race. And at this point, Harry, I guess it's a good time to ask you what's been your thoughts over the first half of the race.
I mean, Veloce have been impressive, of course, out in the lead, coming from second, minding the time. Also, we've heard from James saying the conditions changing really played a big part, and when that happened, he was the one who stepped up, made the overtake happen, and has now made the lead what it is. So that's very impressive. Obviously, we've got the Williams guys who I think will be okay with what's happened. I mean, they won't be too happy with the gap to the leaders, but considering what happened to them on the first lap of going wide and then fighting their way back to second currently, although they've got Alesi Esports Academy for close company, if those two start battling, that might be game over, and then Veloce can take their not foot off the pedal essentially, but they've got a bit more of a breathing gap, because these guys are going to start battling, cost themselves time. These guys need to work together, Williams and John Alesi Esports. They need to work together and not cost each other time battling, which hopefully for their sake they will do. We might end up with a three-way battle, but at the moment lots are looking comfortable.
I mean, I don't mean to say this to insult the ability of any of the Veloce drivers, but it only takes one mistake, doesn't it, for things to change. One small off, braking with a wheel on the grass, or that could send you around, or anything like that. Any small mistakes, and then it's game on again, isn't it? So at the moment they may be comfortable, but they've still got to keep focused for another 16 laps. Yeah, we've heard James again though referencing the weather coming in, and they're expecting rain on Noah's stint. So I've got the Williams car going wide. John Alesi looking up the inside, but can't make it there. But they'll be in a prime position to pick up that slipstream down the Mulsanne. But yeah, I think the thing we need to look out for now is going to be if and when that rain hits. Well, we will look out for that. John Alesi Esports Academy at the moment are sitting there in third place, but surely they could go into second place here. They've got the long Mulsanne straight to do it, and with no chicanes, it is a very long straight indeed. Williams just ahead of them, making that mistake just before the straight, and that's allowed John Alesi Esports Academy to float back up. Then we have Lazarus, then we have JOTA, VP Gaming, Lightspeed, Team Highlands Racing, Radicals, BHK, Fordzilla, and Team FGTR. That is the full order at the moment. We are on board with third place. John Alesi Esports Academy. It's Williams ahead of us at the moment. Not closing in as much as I'd expected to, but they're certainly close enough to be keeping the pressure on as we get closer to the braking zone. Absolutely. Now, I expected them to close right up, but maybe the setup's coming into play. Maybe the Williams guys have got a bit of a lower drag philosophy on the car to help them down this part of the circuit, which is why they obviously concertina up towards the back end of the circuit when all the corners come into play. But they're inching closer, and I don't know if they're going to be close enough into the braking zone. They'll be a brave one if they are, but I think they've... They're going to throw one down the inside. Brilliant stuff there, and that could be a change for second unless we see the Williams car appear back ahead, and we do. Well, it was worth a go there. The John Alesi Esports Academy almost had everyone cheering here around the stage, but a good attempt of a move. It was almost a dress rehearsal. I wonder if next time they'll give it a go. The John Alesi Esports Academy sitting third for the time being, and we've got more battling going on behind this, just outside of the top five. I believe it is Lightspeed versus VP Gaming at the moment. Team Highlands Racing is off the back of this, so really this is just a two-way fight. No other teams really around these guys at the moment, so Lightspeed Esports, it is ahead of us. We go back then and a little bit of a breeze with the barrier there. This is the battle for second place once again. The John Alesi Esports Academy just making a little bit of contact with the barrier out of Arnage, but they've just about got away with it. Williams then escaping in second place, so just that one small mistake, and you can see the damage it has done, Harry. It's allowed Williams now to just break away, and they can now not be so nervous going through the first part of the lap, knowing that they kind of broken the toe after that mistake for the Mulsanne straight. Absolutely, as you mentioned earlier, it's all about keeping your focus on not making the mistakes, and although it was a small mistake, it's cost them a fair bit of time, but at least they didn't end up clipping that tyre wall too heavily, because we've seen what kind of damage it can do, and previous to this race it can really destroy it completely if you're unlucky enough. But they live to fight another day. They're not quite within the range that they would like to be, but plenty more laps to go to get back in there, and then see what they can do about obviously Veloce guys up front as well. It capped 8 seconds, so that's come down a fraction. It's not quite as high as it was. It was in the high 8 seconds and now down to 8 seconds flat, so maybe that's something to keep an eye on for the Williams guys. Obviously Isaac next to me, and in the rig doing what he does best. He's a very capable driver, a bit like James Baldwin in essence. The idea that you can hop in many different genres of esports and motorsport sim races, and he seems to excel in anything that he goes in, so very talented on the same aspect as James there, and so doing a good job in second at the moment. We go back on board then with JOTA now. We skip on board with, we can see Lazarus ahead, and Aaron Markin Pilkington there closing in on fourth place here. This is brilliant stuff from JOTA. Lazarus just ahead of them at the moment. They've got Nathan Tague in the seat. This would be a brilliant performance if JOTA can get even further higher than fifth. Let's not forget, this is an invitational event. All these teams are here because they are very capable, and very capable of winning this event and qualifying through to the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final. I'm sure many of them we will see here, and there you can see Aaron Martin Pilkington for JOTA there just sitting in the rig as they go on to the straight. Now, to get up to 4th place, that would be some achievement, and then from there they've still got plenty of time to go. They've still got Jacob Bokert yet to get in the seat as well, and we all know how capable he is when he jumps in a rig. So JOTA could have a really good result here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what we said towards the start of the show, is that they've got a very strong driver lineup. Obviously, the start of the race is very unfortunate, but that lineup they've got is arguably one of the strongest here. So their abilities individually to fight back from that is going to be what might carry them through. So they're currently 5th, looking at 4th place. Then after that, there is quite a big gap ahead to the top 3. But you've got to be in it to win it. And if those top 3 suddenly start closing up and start squabbling, as we keep saying, the JOTA car could end up finding themselves on the back of that trio, making it a quartet, and who knows what will happen at that point. They've just got to keep the head down. Aaron's a very capable driver, as you've mentioned, doing the job that he needs to at the moment, and we'll see if they can make any progress into 4th place anytime soon.
Well, they're getting closer, aren't they? And there's definitely cars up the road in their sight as well. There goes Veloce, and then behind that, I'd say the 4 teams behind are fairly close together. We'll get a better view, I'm sure, next time they hit the straights. There we can see the Veloce driver just getting a little bit out of shape, and I'm sure that was coming through Indianapolis. That is Noah Schmitz, who's in the seat for them at the moment. But Williams then have a bit of a gap over Jean Alesi and Williams, but JOTA only a couple of seconds behind 3rd place, it seems here. So JOTA are staring at a potential top 3 finish coming back from last place. So this is really good stuff at the moment. Lazarus is ahead of us. We go on board with JOTA now, and just ahead of that is 3rd place. So great stuff here. We'll stay on board with JOTA for a little bit, shall we, as we come up towards the Porsche curves.
Yeah, a crucial part of the circuit, this one, all the high-speed stuff. The car doesn't really like doing cornering at the best of times, I know, when you have to pitch it in like you do here. So it's all about getting the weight transfer to get the cornering speed maximised. As you see, that's why you see the car sort of wagging their tail on the exit. The drivers are quite aggressive on their turning to get that weight over the front axle, get it turned in nicely, and then they'll deal with the rear end on the exit. That's not a problem for most of them. You see the angle of the car looks like it's sliding around. That's how you've got to drive the car. That's how you've got to be quick. And especially the slow speed final chicane, it doesn't like that a lot either. But the Mulsanne, it quite likes that, I reckon.
I'm sure many people who have tried driving this car, for people like me anyway, I think I'd do one lap and then I'd get on something else. But it might feel like they're doing the wrong thing getting out of shape, but that, as you said, that's exactly what they've got to do to go quick.
It's an old car, and that's how they were meant to be driven, essentially. They don't have the modern aerodynamics and tyres and brakes and suspension that we've become accustomed to. They are what they are. It's a car that's over 50 years old at this point, and you've got to drive it like how it was built, essentially. You've got to use those parts to your advantage, and you can't drive it like a modern car because it won't like it when you do that. You've got to sort of manhandle it, and you'll see when you get the shots of the guys driving, you'll see how aggressive and how sort of soaring at the wheel they are almost to keep it balanced, because it bucks and kicks at every opportunity. So all credit to these guys for taming it the best they can, especially when they're racing wheel to wheel.
Well, here we go. This is the battle for 3rd place. Now, John Alesi Esports Academy is ahead of us. We are on board with Lazarus at the moment, who are just trying to close in. A little bit out of shape there for Lazarus before Tex Rouge, so that's going to cost them a little bit of time as we go on to the Mulsanne straight. So Lazarus will just drop out of, will get a tow, I'm sure, but they've just dropped back slightly. So let's see how much they can close in down this straight then. There we can see the Williams Esports driver Isaac Price, and just behind him there is the John Alesi Esports driver of Danilo Santoro. So coincidentally they are right next to each other on stage as well, and here comes the John Alesi car. It's getting closer and closer then, and it's going to go to the outside there of the Williams car as we head down the straight then. In fact, that's the Lazarus car, isn't it? Apologies, I'm going past the John Alesi Esports Academy team. So despite that small mistake, Lazarus have been able to close in, and they've got past John Alesi Esports Academy, no problem.
Yeah, the Mulsanne doing what it does. You pick up the slipstream from such a long way back that by the time you get to the car in front, you pick up so much overspeed compared to them that you just sail by them in a straight line. It's very rare that you'll end up being stuck side by side unless you know to tail going on to the Mulsanne in the first place. So it's almost better to actually be further behind, because you then get a bigger slipstream effect as we're closing up quite severely under braking, just about taking avoiding action to avoid the rear of the Lazarus car. As you now look back at the John Lacey car, got a great exit, pulling to the inside, and they'll be side by side down towards Indianapolis.
Yeah, good driving there from John Lacey, just having to pull to the outside to make sure they didn't clatter into the back of the Lazarus car, but John Lacey are looking to fight back up the road. There is the Williams car. Thankfully for them, they have a little bit of a gap over this, because this is going to become a three-way battle, I'm sure, with JOTA closing in all the time. There you can see JOTA just behind. They're now all in the same picture as we come through Indianapolis for the 19th time of 32, and Lazarus having to go a little bit defensive. The John Lacey car closes in on the exit. Into Arnage we go now. Heavy braking zone, of course, the slowest corner on the circuit, and the John Lacey car gets even closer then as we head down to the Porsche curves. JOTA are going to be loving what they're seeing here. This is going to be a great three-way battle as we are in the second phase of this race. One more driver for each team still to jump in. Those pit stops, I'm sure, are only a few laps away, but at the moment we'll enjoy this battle for third place.
Absolutely, three of them going hammer and tong, so the JOTA car will probably be hoping that what happened earlier in the race is similar to this occasion, where they came up behind two cars and both those almost fell off the track as they approached them, and through they went. Obviously, I don't think that's going to be the case with these guys, unfortunately for JOTA, but they'll have to pass them with a good overtake. I imagine Lazarus and Williams, both very experienced drivers behind the wheel. They're not going to make any mistakes, I don't think, when it comes to pressure from JOTA.
Here we go then, down towards the Ford chicanes. You can see just up the road, we're on board with JOTA, but just up the road is Lazarus and the John Lacey Esports team, as they now head into the chicanes. The John Lacey Esports team directly ahead of us. Lazarus just a little bit further ahead in third place. Down the straight we go, and behind in sixth place, some way behind, is Lightspeed. Then it's VP Gaming, Team Highlands Racing, Radicals, BHK, Fordzilla, and Team FGTR. That is the full order at the moment. If the race were to finish now, the Team Invitational would be won by Veloce, and they would be the team that takes a ticket to the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final with it. Of course, they won that Le Mans Esports Series Super Final last year, the first Super Final that we held. This is now season number 2 of the Le Mans Esports Series, and well, it would be a real shame and kind of strange if they weren't there. So I'm sure they're going to be desperate to take the chance to go through here, as they are not racing in the Pro Team Series, which is the only other way for any Pro team to qualify. Of course, there will be 2 wildcards, but qualifying through and knowing you have that qualification is always much better.
Of course, especially when you know that this is your only opportunity. They'll be so thankful that they're in the position they are, leading the race with a somewhat healthy gap at this stage of the Veloce team, knowing that if they don't get it here, then their chances, unless they get into the wildcard selection, they're not going to be in the final, and that'll be heartbreaking for them. So they're in prime position. They'll be very happy with the way things are going at the moment, but the race isn't over until they cross that checkered flag line at the end.
Well, here come JOTA then. They got a great run out of Tex Rouge, and they've just gone down the inside, or pulled alongside the John Lacey Esports Academy car, shall I say, and they've gone through very, very easily. So JOTA are up into 4th place. Can they stay there though, because there's still some length of this straight to go, and the John Lacey car, I'm sure, will be keen to fight back as we get towards the heavy braking zone at Mulsanne Corner. This is a little bit further back down the field. This is Fordzilla we are looking at. We're trying to get into 10th place ahead of BHK, so we haven't seen much of Fordzilla. They've run into problems during the race, but they're on somewhat of a recovery, I think it's fair to say now, and they are trying to get past BHK. We didn't quite see the end of what happened in our battle for 3rd place, but we will return to that shortly. In the meantime, we're going to stay with this. This is Fordzilla closing in on BHK. Can they get up into 10th place? BHK will, I'm sure, try and go a little bit defensive as we now cut back to the battle within the top 5. There you can see the John Lacey Esports Academy car. JOTA is ahead. JOTA trying to get past Lazarus for 3rd place, and under braking JOTA, well, just going a little bit too late on the brakes, and finding themselves having to move to the middle of the circuit there just to, I think, try and extend their run to the corner. If anything, under the braking zone, I think they were a little bit concerned that they were going to run straight into the back of the Lazarus car and almost forced themselves into an overtake, but in the end JOTA stay behind in 4th place. Lazarus remaining 3rd, and this is the Alesi Esports Academy car in 5th.
Yeah, I think Aaron Martin Pilkington behind that, JOTA will really giving the sign of intent to the Lazarus car. They're sort of
showing the mirrors, perhaps.
Yeah, showing the nose and going,
don't
forget I'm here. Now I'll be past you soon. I'm probably what he's pretty saying to himself in the cockpit. But it's what you got to do. You've got to try and make the driver ahead of you into a mistake if you can, force them into that. Because overtaking, unless you've got the slipstream effect, which we know is powerful, that's sort of your only real chance. And if you can force a mistake, it becomes an awful lot easier.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'd had a feeling it was late on the brakes, but I think you're exactly right there. Just trying to show himself in the mirrors, trying to make that car big in the mirrors. We go back to this battle between Fordzilla and BHK. Team FGTR just in the background as well, so a three-way fight it is for 10th place. We're on board with BHK. Fordzilla, I think, might be 2 are inside. No, they're not. They've just touched back in behind. So Team Fordzilla remain in 10th place at the moment. I don't know what's happened to Radicals, but they have dropped down the order, so I don't know if they've had some problems somewhere, but we'll confirm that when we know it. For now, we'll go back to 4th place, which is the JOTA car. Lazarus is just ahead of us, and JOTA surely are thinking of that Mulsanne straight, surely already lining that move up. In their head is Aaron Martin Pilkington, and just as we cut away, it looked like we could have been side by side there. We have someone doing their second stop, and indeed JOTA go down the inside through Ted Truge, and they go into 3rd place. Lazarus having to run off the circuit, but that is move complete, so brilliant move there from JOTA. However, now, Harry, they have to try and defend all the way down the straight. Lazarus may just come sailing back by again.
It'll be a worry in that cockpit for the JOTA car for sure. You're pretty hoping that he's forced them wide enough and compromise their run enough to make sure they're not going to pick up the slipstream and get that overspeed effect to come back at them. But I think they're going to be within that range, and come the hairpin, they might be side by side yet again.
Well, let's stick with it. Looks like BHK are just about to complete their second and what I'm sure will be their final stop. So this is the JOTA car now in 3rd. We wait to see if the Lazarus car will appear at any point. There is the Lazarus car. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. The braking zone will be coming up shortly as well. Are they thinking about a dive down the inside? I wonder. Lazarus now having to move to the inside. You can see the JOTA car just trying to block off any attempt from the Lazarus car to go by, just trying to force the Lazarus car to the outside, but Lazarus are going to stay where they are until the braking zone at least. Now heavy on the brakes. Will that Lazarus car try and dive down the inside? No. Sensibly, I'd say, stays behind for the moment. So JOTA hold on to 3rd place, and now they're going to try and chase down Williams in 2nd.
Yeah, strange on that. It looked like they had massive overspeed of the Lazarus car. Yeah, it's sort of hit almost a buffer behind the JOTA car when it got within a certain distance, then lost all that excess speed it had, and then sort of sat there not being able to do anything. And obviously at that point wasn't close enough for the late braking manoeuvre either. And again, at this point, it looks like the JOTA car pulling away down the straight. So again, it might be setup related that we need to take care of. You see the spits of flame from the exhaust on the back.
Here we go. We're on board with JOTA. You can see the Lazarus car behind, the Alesi Esports car behind that one, and then in the background we can see 6th place as well, who's just trying to close in on this battle, and is Lightspeed Esports. VP Gaming are in 7th, so they've dropped a few places, unfortunately, since the start of the race, but the race is not over yet. We're only about 2/3 of the way through it, so still quite a way to go in this one. It is a 2-hour race in total, so still a good 40 minutes remaining in this one. As there we can see the JOTA car with the Lazarus car in the background, and the Alesi car behind that. Now, if you're in the Lazarus car and you potentially have the pace to challenge JOTA, do you just wait and see, Harry, to see what they can do in terms of the gap to Williams, which for these guys and the quality of these guys is quite substantial. Good 3 seconds it is. But do you just sit there and wait to see if they can do anything if you're Lazarus, or do you think you're not going to go back through and try and do all the hard work myself?
It depends what opportunities present themselves. Now, if there's a clear opportunity, then you might as well go for it, but there's no point forcing something that's going to cost you a lot of time, even if you make the move. Obviously, the worst case scenario is going to be you go for a move, you cost yourself lots of time, and you also don't complete the move either. So they'll have to see what happens over the next maybe half a lap or so, see what they want to do. But say, not to be defeatist, but I think they'll be looking at that gap to Veloce and seeing it went from 8 seconds that I mentioned a few laps ago, it's now up to over 10 seconds, so it's looking ominous. So at this point, it's almost like you might as well go for every opportunity you get and then see what falls your way towards the end of the race, rather than sitting back and playing the long game, because obviously there isn't that much left of the long game.
Well, I think one of those opportunities may just be about to come up, because it looks like the JOTA cars had a bit of a tough run through the first part of this 22nd lap. This is Team Highlands Racing we go back to now, and I think they have just lost a place to Fordzilla, so Fordzilla go up into 8th place. That drops Team Highlands Racing down into 9th. So Fordzilla, who had a real tricky start to the race, and now starting to become a little bit more present in this race. They've made a good few overtakes now. Next for them will be VP Gaming.de. I don't know what the exact gap is to VP Gaming, but we'll try and find that out in a little while, as this is the JOTA car once again with the Lazarus team behind, Williams just up the road. Williams with a 9-second gap to the leaders Veloce, so it doesn't look like any changes will come there anytime soon, unless there is some sort of mistake from the Veloce team. Likewise, Williams, they seem to be fairly comfortable in 2nd place at the moment.
Yeah, so we just had a discussion on the stage with Aaron, Martin Pilkington in the JOTA car, and Jacob Bocat, who will be stepping into the seat. I guess they're trying to work out how many more laps they can get out of Aaron before Jacob's going to step in and make sure he's obviously got the 30-minute window that they need. So they're only going to be looking at, I mean, we said it was like 8 laps that they needed at least, so you're looking at lap 24 or whatever at the latest, around that sort of that time. So we've got a car going wide there in the gravel, have we? We have.
Oh, yes.
Is that the John Alesi car?
That was a good spot, actually. Yes, it was. So, yeah, good spot, Harry. So, Jean Alesi, Esports Academy, dropped down. A couple of mistake there at Mulsanne, running into the gravel, and they have dropped. Let's pick up exactly where they've dropped to. I think it's 6th place. Let's have a look. Yes, so 6th place now. They are. VP Gaming is next along after that. So a shame for the John Alesi Esports Academy, but it just shows what one mistake can do, and that is what we keep reminding you. Veloce may have a good lead, but if they do something like that, then they will find their lead completely vanishing.
Of course, it's part of an endurance race as well. Obviously, they're doing driving changes anyway, but fatigue does start to set in. Obviously, there is a physical aspect to this esports, as we've mentioned, so it does become quite easy. Mental lapse, concentration, of course, is always a possibility as well. And then when you throw in racing with other cars and close quarters combat with them, it can be difficult to spot every single braking zone, every single turning marker. And with the weather changing again, it gets brightened up a bit, so it looks like that rain hasn't arrived, thankfully, for a lot of these guys, I think. But again, you've got to adjust to those conditions when they present themselves.
Well, to remind you, of course, this is the Autosport Teams Invitational. The winner of this will qualify through to the Mans Esports Series Super Final as one of 9 pro teams. The rest of them, 6 of them, will come through the Pro Series, and 2 wild cards as well. That is the situation. Veloce in the lead at the moment. For now, though, we're going to head down to Louise, who's with Tobin Lee.
Yes, I'm with Tobin Lee. Just looking at the front runners now. This is an invitational round, and Veloce and Williams are both in for the win. JOTA are in the series, so they can come back and try again.
Yeah, so what we have is in the top 2, we have Williams and Veloce, and the thing is that whichever team out of them doesn't win, that's it for them. We will not see them again this year. So it's a full-on knockout. But if we look at JOTA, they'll be okay, to be fair, because they've got loads of other rounds to go. It's just the way that the format works, and it will be interesting to see how that battle and how the pressure on Williams' shoulders develops.
We've still got 10 rounds to go, 10 laps.
Yeah, still plenty of time for Williams to sort their position out and close that gap.
Thanks, Tobin. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Tobin. Right, we just had a stop from the Jean Alesi Esports Academy. Giovanni De Salvo has jumped in for them. BHK have also made their second stop. Alessandro Ottaviani is now in for them. So Jean Alesi, with that stop, go down into 7th place. And they will now see what they can do in this third stint. Of course, they just had that mistake which saw them lose a place. But more stops going on. Fordzilla make their stop as well. They had a good second stint there, actually, and a deserved round of applause for Anthony Deal, who has brought them back up in to the top 10 and well into the top 10 as well. Miguel Molina will now try and hold that position and maybe make a couple more as well. So Fordzilla have now made their stops for the race, and they're going to be going to the end. A good second stint from them.
Absolutely, you know, they've done what they could with the situation as it was. Obviously, another pit stop that was down the line was the Radicals Online making their final pit stop as well. So we'll see how they get on again. It's all about the drivers acclimatising and getting used to the car as soon as they jump in. They can't afford to take a lap or two to get up to their temperature with the car. They've got to jump in and be on it from the get-go, which is always difficult. You know, there's no guarantee you're going to be able to make that happen. And if you do and get it wrong, then the consequences can be quite severe.
So that'll be Matt Beard then. If the Radicals did do their second stop. Here's the Williams Esports team who are about to do their second stop as well. So Nico Wisniewski is about to jump in for them, and Nico will take us to the end of the race for the Williams team. We'll have a gap to chase, and at this point what's going to be going through the head of Nico knows that there is quite a substantial gap to chase down, but it's very doable in the amount of time we still have left.
It is, and there's a story that obviously I think we need to tell regarding Hayden and coming in for the Veloce squad. Unfortunately, with Veloce Storm not being able to make it, so when Hayden comes in, there's obviously something we'll go into when that happens, when the pit stop's made, I think, to explain to the viewer what the situation is. But I think that might be the crumb of comfort that Williams are holding on to at the moment, to think we've got that potential opportunity depending on how it goes. So they're in the best position, as we mentioned before. You know, you've got to be in the right position to pick up the cars when they become available, and that might be the case as Hayden's walking up now, looking like we might be seeing a pit stop front of the race leaders anytime soon.
Well, let's talk about that then. Harry, you know exactly the story here, so just tell us what happened to the Veloce team this week and why we're seeing Hayden here.
So my understanding is Veloce Storm was meant to be here racing with Noah and James, but unfortunately those circumstances meant that wasn't the case. I don't know the full story of that, so I won't comment on it. But
his passport was stolen.
Well, that's obviously going to be an issue for someone who's obviously coming abroad to compete in this series, as we can see Hayden getting in now. So that means Hayden, because of how local he is here, within basically the day, he's been called upon to jump in to make sure they can actually compete in this. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a third driver and wouldn't be able to take part. So he's well vested in driving games. Forza's probably not his specific platform, so he's jumped in last minute to help the team out, been getting all the encouragement and coaching from his teammates to make sure he's up to speed as possible. But again, it's the case of we're going to see how up to speed he is and whether he can hold on to that lead that's been built by his teammates. It's a big ask, he's going to do a fantastic job either way, and to step in last minute like this in this kind of environment is, you have to tip your cap to him and say, well done. But we need to see where he's actually going to finish in this final stint of the race. Well,
Hayden is a Veloce Esports presenter and content manager. He had 1 day's notice for this event, so he didn't put in the preparation that everyone else perhaps on this stage has, and that could be a big difference. And as you said, I think Williams are going to know that now, and they're going to think that this could be a chance for us in this third stint, and that's taken nothing away from Hayden, but knowing that the preparation has not been able to be put in from the third driver, I think this is going to either be a very close finish or a very impressive performance from Hayden to hold a gap like that, considering how little amount of preparation he's had, and already making the Veloce team a little bit nervous there as they went fully sideways through Tech Rouge. I see the Veloce drivers getting very nervous. So if you're around and watching, or if you're tuning in online, this race could get very, very interesting over the next 5 to 10 minutes, with Veloce leading once all the stops have been completed, but Williams on the chase.
Yeah, they'll be looking and thinking now is the time. We've waited the most part of this race for this moment to happen. Now we've got our C's on it if we can. So they've both made their final pit stop. They're both on track now. So we're going to watch that gap closely if we can, see how quickly it comes down. Obviously, if it comes down at all, we do expect it to. And then see how many laps are left and try and work out when we might be expecting a change to the lead if it comes.
Well, here we go. There you can see the Veloce car at the moment. We're still waiting to see pit stops from some teams. I think Lightspeed Esports, something's happened with them. I can see some frustration coming from them. I wonder if they've actually had an off. They were they actually inherited the lead once all the stops had been completed, so I'm not too sure what has just happened to them, but it does look like they've hit some problems, I think, somewhere, but they are also about to make their second stop as well. We do pick up Veloce, who are behind VP Gaming. They are yet to make their second stop. Their third driver is just preparing which is Bel El Kabli. Get there in the end. I asked him about 3 times as well. But they're about to make their second stop, and that will clear the track for Veloce and Hayden to just try and get his foot down and try and hold the gap to Williams. We'll check in on what the gap is to Williams very shortly. Of course, the 2 leaders have both made 2 stops, so we'll know exactly what the gap is once that comes up for us.
Yeah, so this might actually be best case scenario for Hayden. He's locked up and gone wide.
Oh no, that's
he's in the gravel.
Big mistake from Veloce team there, running wide, and that was into Mulsanne corner and into the gravel, and that's going to bring the gap down. Now, before the stops had been made, the gap between Veloce and Williams was 8 seconds, and I'd say that's going to at least take away at least 2 seconds, I think.
Absolutely, so we can't see the Williams car in the background just yet, so that's not an immediate danger as yet, but as it's difficult with Hayden at the best of times, let alone when you're in this position of leading a race and you've got to hold on essentially for what feels like forever. It's 8 laps essentially, but it's going to feel like an awful lot more for him. But we'll see how this unfolds and how he gets his head down and deals with the next few laps. I was going to say it was probably ideal for him to be following the VP gaming car because it would have given him a sighter, but it shows how much I know.
Well, there we go. There is Lightspeed Esports. They actually have the fastest lap of the race, by the way, so brilliant stuff from them. They a very good stint, I have to say, from Callum Lawrence. I believe it was Callum who may have put in the fastest lap as well, but Kian Butler now jumps in, and Kian Butler will take them to the end of the race. They did come in the lead. Of course, they weren't in the lead once the stops began, but they went into the lead once the guys ahead of them stopped. Also stopping over to my left is VP Gaming. They've just made their second stop as well, so finishing the race for them will be El Kabli. Just going to go the second thing this time. Right, let's get a gap update for Veloce and for Williams. Let's see what the gap is between our 2 leaders. It is 2.6 seconds. Wow, so it is shrunk from around 8 seconds to just 2.6 seconds. Lap number 25 of 32. We still have quite a way to go in this one. Now, these are 2 teams, of course, that are trying to win their place into the Mans Esports Series Super Final as well. They're both not competing in the Pro Series, both big names, so this is their only chance to qualify. That means we're going to have, if it's a straight head-to-head between Veloce and Williams, we're going to have a big name missing when we get to the Super Final.
Absolutely, that's referencing what Tobin said a little earlier about the fact that both these teams are big names in the world of esports and sim racing itself. So the fact that we're going to be missing one of them in the Super Final potentially is going to be a big shock to the system for the team, whoever it turns out to be.
Well, I'm sure if we go back to the leaders, we'll pretty much be able to see that Williams can probably now see the Veloce car in sight, and it's quite interesting that they happen to have been placed at either side of where we are commentating. So we have Veloce to our right and Williams to our left. So if you're looking at the stage, to the right of us is the Williams team, to the left of us is the Veloce team, and there are very nervous faces in front of me. You can see the Veloce guys looking a little bit worried, whereas the Williams guys definitely some adrenaline pumping down there. They seem to be pretty happy with where they are at the moment. However, they are not in the lead yet, so they still have some work to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement coming from that Williams rig, so they're obviously trying real hard to get that car around the racetrack as quickly as possible. It's 2.5 seconds now, so it's coming down slowly. Obviously, we just had the Mulsanne straight, so that would explain why it's not. We've got a car off.
That's Lightspeed Esports, I have to say, with the session that was just put in there from Callum. They set the fastest lap. They were actually in 3rd place, but JOTA now go into 3rd place. So that was a change, and I apologise to the Lightspeed guys that we didn't pick up on straight away, but Lightspeed came out in 3rd place. That mistake now drops them to 4th place, and if a battle is to kick off up ahead, well, JOTA are only 6 seconds back from Veloce and 4 seconds back from Williams, and we've got a battle going on here. This looks like Jean Alesi versus Lazarus into Indianapolis. We're on board, I think, with the Lazarus car, and up the inside there's Jean Alesi. Brilliant move from the Jean Alesi Esports team. They go up another position. Lazarus dropping down a position. They're going to have to complete the move down into Arnage. We're on board with Lazarus now, and that's the Jean Alesi Esports car going up into 5th place. I think that is now. So brilliant driving there from the Jean Alesi team. They now go up into 5th, and we're on board with Lazarus, who are in 6th. This is turning into a very interesting last stint of the race.
Absolutely, you can tell it's getting towards the end because they're just going for it. Trying to make moves into Indianapolis, it's just ridiculous at the best of times, let alone when they're driving these kind of cars. And they make it work. It is a credit to how good these drivers are, and especially 4 of them in the same shot. Suggests after 25 laps that they're absolutely on the limit.
I think we do need to try and pick up our leaders, because surely it is getting quite close now between the top 2, and there it is, where the 2 leaders are side by side. Well, can you believe it? Veloce, who once had an 8-second lead, there go Williams down the inside, and they take the lead of the Autosport Teams Invitational. Fantastic driving there. Williams goes through there, locking up as we go into the Ford chicanes, but Veloce have dropped down to 2nd place. It's a heartbreak for the Veloce team. They still got a few laps in this to go, though, so Veloce have time to fight back, but Williams are now the new race leaders. Their team that were off down at Mulsanne corner on the first lap have got back, fought back, and they're now into the lead.
Yeah, I think that was always going to be a case of when, not if, that move was going to happen, and say it's happened quite early on in the stint, which now I'm sure Veloce would be quite disappointed with, but it's the way it is. JOTA are now going to be chasing down that Veloce car, and if they can pass them as well, depending on how easy Williams take it, now they're in the lead where they don't need to take the risks of driving 110% everywhere. If they try and take their foot off the gas just a little bit, it might let JOTA in with a sniff.
And look in the background, there's the JOTA car as well. The JOTA car is starting to close in. To remind you, the JOTA team dropped to 12th and last place at the very first corner from 4th on the grid, and they have fought back. A brilliant stint from Sean Arnold, and then Aaron Martin Pilkington as well. I believe Aaron may have now swapped, and Jacob Bokett is now in the rig for them as well. Sorry, we slightly lost track of the pit stops while we had our lead change there, but Jacob Bokett in for them. I wonder if Jacob is going to have enough in the tank to try and close in. Williams, of course, very, very strong team. Likewise, Veloce. Are they too far behind, do you think, to challenge for this lead, or is 3 seconds doable for them?
It's absolutely doable. If Jacob gets his head down, doesn't make any mistakes, and drives as well as he knows he can drive, we know he can drive, then he can absolutely make that happen. Not taking anything away from the Williams guys, obviously, they're very quick themselves, but it's so difficult to call. It's getting tense now. The last half dozen laps, a small mistake is going to potentially cost you a place in the Super Final.
We were once almost giving that ticket to Veloce to the Super Final, but now it could be anyone, 3, 4, 5 teams perhaps. This is a battle going on between the Jean Alesi Esports Academy team and Lightspeed Esports as well. Lightspeed Esports were 3rd. They made that mistake, they've dropped them to 5th place, but now they're trying to get through to 4th. They're on the outside there of the Jean Alesi Esports Academy as we go down to Mulsanne corner. The braking zone coming up any second now. Can they be brave around the outside? Can they go around the outside of the John Alesi team? In fact, the John Alesi team run wide. It's Lightspeed Esports trying to get back through. Just up ahead, Veloce have dropped to 3rd place. Veloce look like they've dropped to 3rd place, so JOTA have gone through, and yes, they have. So there's confirmation. JOTA into 2nd, and the gap is coming down to Williams, it seems, as well. It was 3 seconds when we last checked in with it. Let's have a look at what it is now. We'll get that update for you in just a second, but behind Lightspeed Esports, I think, are past Jean Alesi Esports Academy, or are they into Indianapolis? We're on board with Jean Alesi, almost fully sideways there, just about managing to save it there. That was Lightspeed Esports going down the inside of the Jean Alesi Esports Academy team, and they've got through. So Lightspeed Esports now up ahead of the Jean Alesi Esports team, and up ahead could be the battle for the lead very shortly.
Yeah, celebrations in the crowd, and there's some fantastic car control to keep it pointing in the right direction. When it got that much opposite lock on, you do wonder if it's actually going to snap back into position, but it did, and they managed to complete the move. And say, JOTA have now got the position to, I think, knock themselves off the Christmas card list for 2 teams to snow here with Veloce and Williams. Both those teams, this is their chance to get through, and JOTA obviously in the Pro Teams Championship as well, so they've got that opportunity to qualify. Even if they get the result here, then they knock out both those 2 teams, which those are 2 big scalps to take.
That's a very good point, actually. Our Pro Team Series, which Williams and Veloce are not taking part in, gives the 16 teams in that. The top 6 will qualify through. And as Harry said, JOTA are actually 2nd in that series at the moment, so really they could just go through via that. But let's get straight back to the action, because it looks like the Jean Alesi Esports team are trying to line a move up on Lightspeed. Really, I have to think these teams should be really trying to work together here, because up ahead could be a battle for the lead kicking off in the next lap or 2. They're fighting each other, they're just dropping further back from the leaders. I think if they were to work together, they could find themselves in the battle for the lead come the end.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's going to be a wonderful thing when we look back at the end of it, but I think at this point in the race, it's sort of desperation starting to sink in. When you're 4th and 5th, you think, well, I've got to go for absolutely everything. I'd rather take track position than working together with someone. As much short-sighted it might seem at the time, I think that's the only real option they've got at this stage, being quite late into the race.
It's a big thing at stake, isn't it? The chance to go and race at the Le Mans 24-hour at the Esports Series, a Super Final. That is the chance. We fly all the drivers out there, we put them up there, free tickets as well, and they race live at the Le Mans 24-hour. Imagine missing out on that. That is what it means to these guys. It is absolutely everything, and this, for some teams, is their only chance to do it. It's winner takes all, and Veloce are dropping further down the field now, unfortunately. It looks like Lightspeed Esports are about to go down the outside. They are going to have to tuck back in for now, but this is a long straight for them to make this move. And behind that as well, getting a double toe, is the Alesi Esports Academy team. They could be in 3rd place by the time we get down to the end of this straight. We're on board with Veloce for the time being. Lightspeed Esports choosing to go out of the toe for a little bit. I think they want to try and time this move to perfection, so they're trying to stay behind for most of the straight and then get by right at the end of the straight, but they've got to be careful because currently they are leaving the door open for the Alesi Esports Academy team. We've got the curve in the straight to come up, and here come the Alesi Esports Academy team, and they're getting the toe from the Veloce team, which is going to drag them by into 4th place. Into 4th place they go, and they're trying to get up the inside of Veloce. We could be 3 wide into Mulsanne corner here. It's lap number 27 of 32, and they're battling like it is the final lap. So Alesi team up into 4th place, or are they? Oh no, Veloce go off into the gravel. Who's going to emerge in 3rd place? It's going to be Lightspeed Esports, I think, that go into 3rd place. The Alesi team in 4th, and it's just getting worse and worse for the Veloce team.
Unfortunately so, but with this race being a winner takes all, it's sort of not game over essentially. When Williams passed them for the lead, but it doesn't necessarily matter that they're falling through the field at this stage. Obviously, the guys moving in the other direction are the ones who are going to be focusing the most on whether they can start catching the leaders. Because we mentioned that gap to the 1st and 2nd was 3.3, I think, it's now 2.6.
Yeah.
So it is coming down, and with the amount of laps left, we might end up with a battle for the lead on the last lap.
Yeah, I think we could. 2.6. In about a lap or two, it's come down by 7/10. So, well, we go back to this though. Alesi Esports Academy, they're coming back into play. Lightspeed Esports likewise, they're 4 seconds behind the JOTA team and 6 seconds behind the Williams team, who currently lead the way. They're fighting for that ticket to the Super Final at the Le Mans 24-hour. And it's a huge prize up for grabs. It's the Autosport team's Invitational. Oh no, and running a little bit wide there. The Alesi Esports Academy are just going to help themselves to 3rd place there. The Lightspeed team running a little bit wide through the Porsche curves, and there goes the Alesi team up into 3rd place. Another mistake from the Lightspeed Esports team.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite surprising to see so many mistakes in such a short period of time. It is the end of the race, as we keep saying. It has been a long race, but these drivers are exchanging their stints, so it's not like they've got 2 hours worth of wear and tear on them. So it's a case of, you can see the crowd now literally biting fingernails as we head towards the end.
Well, it's 2.3 seconds is now the gap. Aaron Martin Pilkington, you saw on screen there with barely any fingernails left. The gap's come down by 0.3 in the last few corners of the last lap. So Jacob Bokit, who is in the rig for them, is getting closer and closer. And Jacob Bokit could turn this into a battle for the lead, and that's good to see. The Williams team and the JOTA team side by side next to each other, with the Veloce team there as well. The sportsmanship, always a great thing in the Le Mans Esports Series, and the Lightspeed team jumping up and down in the background as well, because I think they know there's a potential for them to get involved in a battle for the lead as well. The Alesi Esports Academy team and now just starting to pull away. Giovanni DeSalvo in for them at the moment. For Lightspeed Esports, it's Kian Butler. And these guys, if there's a battle kicking off ahead for the lead, they could close in as well. So we've got a very good few laps left. 5 laps remaining. This is lap number 28 now of 32. And there we can see the Veloce team. Unfortunately for them, they are now out of contention, I think it's fair to say, after a couple of trips to the gravel. They've now got the Lazarus team behind them, who are looking to get into the top 5.
Yeah, I think that was going to be a slam dunk anytime soon, unfortunately, as you say, for the Veloce team. It's all looking at the front now, isn't it? We're looking to see if JOTA can finally get into that slipstream range, close up and really put the pressure on that Williams team. They start appearing in their rearview mirrors into the braking zones and making them think twice about which line they want to take. And then obviously behind them, third and fourth, we'll be hoping that they get together closer sooner rather than later, start squabbling and allow them to close up, and hopefully may have a four-way fight.
We have to reiterate Hayden Gullis in for Veloce, not really one of their pro drivers even. He's an esports presenter and content manager. Here he is up against the best in the world, and unfortunately we're just seeing how good the top drivers in the world are. It's that little bit of difference, and he's going to lose a place there to Lazarus, but only had 1 day's notice, no real time to do any testing bar the few hours we had yesterday, and unfortunately it was almost inevitable in a way that this was going to happen, just because of the short notice, the quality of the rest of the field. Oh no, who's that we've just gone by? Is that the Alesi Esports Academy car we've gone by? Let's have a look. Was that the Lightspeed car? I think it is. So the Lightspeed Esports at the same place at Mulsanne Corner, taking a trip to the gravel, and they now fall down into 6th place. That is a real shame. Now, they were fairly close to the Alesi Esports Academy car. I'm not sure if that was just a mistake on their own, or if there was any kind of incident. I'd hate to assume that there was an incident, but unfortunately Lightspeed Esports may look back on this race, if they are not to win it, and feel that there could have been a chance that went begging.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a few teams to look back at this race and think, well, if we didn't make that mistake there and we've done this a little bit differently and played the strategy a bit differently, they might find themselves in the challenging for the win, because the teams that we've seen up front now battling are Williams, who we saw made a mistake on the first lap, and JOTA, who were last, are now chasing them down. So other teams did have an opportunity here. It's what we mentioned, with a one-off race and a bit of lady luck, you can make something work, and at the moment it's working for Williams.
I think we need to check back in with the leaders, because it looks like the gap is coming down even more here between the Williams team and the JOTA team. Right, in fact, it's 2.6, so it's slightly gone up. So Williams are responding, in fact. So good driving from them in the last lap or so. We're looking at the Veloce team at the moment, who are just trying to hang on as much as they can, just trying to minimize the time that they are losing, because of course Hayden in the seat for them is the content manager for the team, and a presenter as well, not on the level of the likes of James Baldwin, as well as Noah Schmitz, who have done the first 2 stints for them. But that's a shame for Veloce, but they did have an 8-second lead, I think it was, at one stage. Well, we're getting into the final few laps now. It's just 4 to go as they cross the line, and leading the way is still the Williams team. JOTA, it may say JOTA have only gained 2 places, but really they've gained 11. They've come all the way from the back of the field, and they dropped all the way to 12th place, and they've now worked their way to 2nd. So a good 10 places gained for them in this race. Likewise, Williams, though, I think they were down in as low as 7th at the start after that mistake. Oh no, that's the Lazarus team. I think that is having a little bit of a spin. So the Lazarus team halfway going round. That's going to put Veloce back into 5th, and it just looked like a simple mistake for me there.
Yeah, the car looks like it's all over the place. I don't know if they picked up damage somewhere, or if it's just lighting up the rear tyres and they've overheated and there's no grip there. But a disappointing mistake to make this late in the race. Obviously, is not really in the contention for the race win, so it's not going to too damaging to their prospects at this stage, but just a bit disappointing on a personal level, I feel, for the driver.
It's a shame that for Lazarus, but this just goes to show, you were talking about it earlier, Harry, you mentioned it, it's the mental fitness almost, trying not to make any mistakes, and the fatigue as well physically of being in the rigs. They know that everyone's watching online. They know there's a massive crowd here at the Autosport show as well, and sometimes that pressure for some drivers, it can work 2 different ways. Sometimes that makes the driver better, and sometimes it can lead to 1 or 2 mistakes.
Yeah, some people thrive on it. They like the pressure, and they like the all eyes on them to be able to go, look what I can do, and they deliver. Whereas other people, it doesn't work that way. It's a case of they don't like all eyes on them, because it's a case of it might show up any mistakes they make, and it goes on a global scale. So yeah, if you want to compete in this kind of competition, you've got to either get used to it or deal with it in a certain way that you find appropriate, because it's always going to be the case.
I was going to ask you which one were you, but the fact that you're here commentating means you're probably the latter. You wanted all eyes on you, so there we go. I'll retract that question straight away. But the gap's still staying at 2.6 seconds between Williams and JOTA at the moment, and well, I wonder if this is a good response from Williams, or if this is a slight breather from the JOTA team. I'd say it's probably the first, but Williams are just reacting now. They feel that a reaction needed to come with JOTA bringing that gap down, and now they've put it in, and they're kind of trying to take the momentum out of JOTA, aren't they? When you see a gap coming down like it was, you always find yourself driving even better. You're taking more curves and places, more runoffs. You break that a little bit later. Once you can take the sting out of that with a reaction and extending the gap, then sometimes that can really, as a driver chasing it, can really take a knock to you, can't it?
Of course, Williams will have the bit between their teeth. They came out after that final pit stop knowing what was ahead of them with the Veloce team and the Veloce driver. They would have known that was the opportunity to take the lead, so they probably put the hammer down, got the times in, got the position, maybe done a few quick laps, then sort of taken it a bit easy to make sure they're looking after the car and they're not putting themselves in any unnecessary risks. JOTA obviously then got into second, closed the gap a bit, and I think Williams are now responding, as you mentioned, to say, no, we've got the pace, you're not coming any closer than 2.5 seconds. In fact, we're going to try and pull a few tenths on you. But again, it's a credit to show, the front two, these laps are nearly 4 minutes long, and yet we're squabbling over a tenth or two each lap. It's crazy.
It's interesting, the Williams guys have stood behind the rig with Jacob Boca in from JOTA. They basically just want to watch exactly what the JOTA team are doing. They're not really worried about kind of what their own driver is doing, who's actually just put his hand up there. I'm not sure if there was a slight mistake from Wisniewski there, and that's why he put his hand up. The gap still looks to be the same, so I'm not too sure what happened there, but it's interesting to see. They just want to watch the JOTA car through literally every single corner. They don't want to know exactly what is going on. They kind of know that they're in good hands with Wisniewski. They just want to see everything JOTA are doing.
Absolutely. I mean, they know better than anyone what their driver can do, so that they know they're in safe hands. It's a case of looking at the opposition as to what they're throwing at them and they need to deal with. So if they see anything that needs to be reported to the driver, they get the opportunity to do so. But at the moment, they seem quite happy over there. They're not bothering their driver. It's just a case of get on and do what you can do.
When would you say, here comes a move, by the way, Lazarus after that mistake, and now going to come down the inside, and that was a good move completed there from Lazarus, passing the Veloce team. They go back into 5th place with that move. I have to ask you, Harry, when do you think the tow probably starts? How close do you have to be in that tow going down Mulsanne Straight? Because really that's all it takes. It's not a 2.3 second gap, is it? It's the gap to be in the tow, and then the chase has pretty much been completed.
You're going to be wanting to be within about 1.5 seconds, I think, to be picking up any kind of effect, meaningful effect anyway. Obviously, with slipstream comes dirty air as well through the corners, and when you go up to Mulsanne Heaven and come back towards the start-finish line, that's when you don't want to be in the slipstream because you've got all the corners there. So it's either way it can work for you, but I think they'd rather be in it than not at this stage. And the fact we've got 2.5 laps left pretty much, and they're not yet within slipstream range, which means even if they did get to that point, moving even closer to get to an overtaking position, they're going to have possibly one chance to make it count if they can even get that.
And the Jean Alesi team will just be hoping that something kicks up ahead. The gap is now 2 seconds, by the way. So JOTA are closing, and hopefully we'll have a look at them, perhaps an onboard with them in just a second, because I'd love to see exactly what the gap is between JOTA and Williams from an onboard point of view. So hopefully we can grab that for you in just a second. At the moment we are on board with Veloce, who of course are in 6th place, and I think we'll be 6th at best unless anything is to happen ahead. But it's JOTA the one that we're more interested in, as the gap now reduces to 1.9 seconds between the two leaders, so another 4 tenths or so, and that will put them within region to pick up a tow. So there is Williams. Now where is JOTA? There they are. So hopefully we'll get an onboard with them in just a second. Oh, there was a little bit of a kick-off there. I think that was Veloce getting a little bit out of shape. Perhaps Lazarus ahead or something similar for them, but when you can see, they can clearly see the car ahead now, JOTA, that's just going to spur them on.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be almost twice as bad for the Williams guys to be at the front of it, knowing that gap's coming down. They're pushing as hard as they can, and the gap's still coming down towards the end of the race. It's like you're going to be sat there as the Williams driver thinking, what more can I do? What more can I do?
Well, here we are. So there is JOTA. We've been bringing you the gaps. There they are. That is how far ahead Williams are in terms of track length itself. It's just under 2 seconds, or at least that was the gap. We'll confirm if that still is the gap in just a second. And here we go. This is what we wanted, Harry, an onboard view as it comes down to 1.7 seconds now. We're about to go on to the penultimate lap of this 2-hour endurance race, where the winner will pick up an entry to the Le Mans 24-hour, the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final. Big things at stake here, and it looks like JOTA are closing in now on the Williams team.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to look at a face that told you I'm in the zone, you've only got to look at the JOTA guys and the Williams guys. They're absolutely nailing it. There's no emotion on the face at all. They are so in the zone that, you know, they're at the peak of their performance. They're 1.92 seconds now, so we're literally talking their 10th here and there could decide this race, depending on how quickly they can get into the slipstream range, if at all.
I have to say, that didn't look like the cleanest of ends to the lap there. The last sector of that lap looked a little bit messy, at least. I know Jacob Bokic pushing like absolute crazy at the moment, but it didn't look like the cleanest of runs through the last part of the lap. And again, look, taking a little bit of a tight line into the Dunlop chicane. I don't know if that's Jacob Bokic doing exactly what's needed, or if that was indeed a bit of a mistake. Likewise, Williams got it having a little bit of a lock-up going into the chicane there. From what you've seen so far, Harry, what have you made of the driving between Williams and JOTA on this penultimate lap?
I mean, the way the car handles, it's so difficult to tell whether the car's trying to step away or that's just how they're trying to drive the car, because that's the quickest way to do it. As we've got no Williams team representatives on the stage now talking to the drivers, obviously they're getting a bit concerned now. They've moved away from being behind the JOTA guys rig to now come and have a word with their driver on the back straight at the Mulsanne. I guess giving them bits of information about what the JOTA car's doing and where they're possibly gaining.
Well, that is Aaron Martin Pilkington for JOTA, looking very, very nervous. If you're around us here in hall number 1, stick with us, because we've got just over a lap and a half to go of this Autosport Teams Invitational, where the winners will be going to the Mans Esports Series Super Final. Aaron Shoney can at least be happy for a moment or two, and then it's back to normal, looking very nervous. But stay with us if you're around, because this race is getting very interesting. There's only 1.2 seconds between the top two. The winner will go to the Mans Esports Series Super Final. The winner, the second place team, will not. So a huge amount at stake here. And now in the tow, I think it's fair to say JOTA getting very, very close, Harry.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we want and what the audience wants to see now. We're going to be down to a last lap shootout between two big names in esports, and now they're going to be competing for that seat in the grand final later this year. And say for Williams, it's their only opportunity. It's the only opportunity they've got, and JOTA are potentially going to steal it away from them, even though JOTA would have another opportunity themselves if they didn't win here today.
I mean, put yourself in their position. I'm sure you've been in similar positions. How do you not start making loads of mistakes just from the nerves? How do you stay composed under this kind of pressure?
Well, that's why I'm here and not in the rig anymore, because I couldn't. But no, it's incredible.
What did you do wrong there?
Well, everything apparently. No, it's so difficult. You practice so hard, and you think it comes down to fighting for a 10th a lap on lap 31 of 32 to make sure someone's not in the slipstream. It's crazy how in depth these guys need to go to make sure they're at their peak performance. And I say, one little mistake, one little kick at the rear could lose you 2/10, and that's game on for the last lap.
Well, the gap has just gone up to 1.5 seconds, so Williams having a good sector, and they've brought the gap back up to 1.5 seconds. But here is on board with JOTA, second place. That is the win, just ahead of the Autosport Teams Invitational. As me and Harry said earlier, the winner is all that matters here. The rest is almost irrelevant, and we've only got just over a lap to go. We're about to go on to the final lap of this 2-hour endurance race. It's been very hectic, to say the least. We've had leaders going off, we've had a small instance as well, but that was definitely a mistake there from the Williams team, and the JOTA team are getting even closer now. Are they close enough to pick up a tow and just drive by the Williams team down the Mulsanne straight? I wonder. If you've just joined us, we're not using the chicanes either down the Mulsanne straight. It's a run all the way down to Mulsanne corner. So here we go then, Williams versus JOTA. 1 lap to decide who is going to take the win, as they now come down to the 4 chicanes for the 31st time of 32 laps. We're looking back now from our leaders, Williams. Will they be in the lead next time we get to the 4 chicanes? Last lap now about to begin as they come across the line. Williams in the lead for the time being, but can JOTA do anything about that?
They're going to need nerves of steel to hold on for this last lap, the Williams guys. Obviously, JOTA, they can't afford mistakes either. We think they're in the best positions as of being behind. They can watch and stalk the leaders, but they need to make sure they don't make any mistakes and drop out of the window of being able to make an overtake happen on this last lap. But we're talking the smallest of mistakes now could decide this race.
Well, here we go then. We're about to come up to the Mulsanne straight, and it looked like a very good run from JOTA for me. Williams likewise are keeping it nice and tidy. No real mistakes on this last lap so far, but JOTA definitely looked close enough to pick up a tow as we come up towards Tech Rouge now. getting very excited on the JOTA team. I think they reckon they're close enough to potentially have the run and try and have a go at this. Onto the Mulsanne straight we go, and now Williams can do nothing but wait as the Williams team approach the JOTA team as well, and that is a very nervous looking Williams driver there looking on as we go down the Mulsanne straight. There's nothing they can do now, Harry. This must be terrible for them. They just have to wait and see if they've done enough to still be in the lead by the time they get down to the end of the Mulsanne straight. JOTA meanwhile are just going to be hoping that their car finds some extra speed from somewhere as they now head down the straight. This is it, final lap, and JOTA closing in.
This is the most frustrating part of the lap for these guys. They'll be pushing that right pedal so hard that they'll probably end up snapping off if they're not careful. You just want to eke every little, sort of, even half a mile an hour to just keep yourself a little bit further ahead than that car chasing you if you're the Williams car. But say they're in the slipstream range. I don't think they're quite close enough to obviously make a move into the hairpin coming up, but they've then got the rest of the lap, the winding corners, the slow 90-degree corners to try and make a move, and that's when the car's obviously at its worst, if you will, in terms of handling. So it's very difficult to control at the best of times, let alone when you've got to deal with these kind of pressures.
It's 8 tenths now, that is the gap, and look how much they're closing in under braking. JOTA right with the Williams team now as they come out of Mulsanne corner. We've got around half a lap remaining here now. Down towards Indianapolis we go. JOTA, they're close enough to be putting the pressure on Williams, but they certainly aren't close enough to make a move just yet, but there is still time remaining in this. The Autosport team's Invitational, after 2 hours, it's come down to the final lap then, and there we have the Williams team leading from JOTA into Indianapolis. We go for the final time. Will there be a mistake from Williams? Will there be an ambitious lunge from JOTA? They're getting closer once again, and now down to Arnage we go. Williams just trying to do as much as they can to prevent JOTA from closing in. That's the JOTA team you saw there with one of the Williams drivers as well, pushing it to the absolute limit, where JOTA almost brushing the tyre barriers. Porsche curves and the Ford chicanes now remaining. Can JOTA get close enough through the Porsche curves to potentially line up a move into the Ford chicanes? I'm shaking for them. I wonder how they're feeling in the rigs. This is the Mans Esports Series Super Final, place up for grabs in the team's Invitational. Through the Porsche curves we go. JOTA getting even closer. Williams, are they going to have to defend going into the Ford chicanes? I wonder. JOTA getting very close now. It is getting seriously close. That was a mistake there from Williams, it looked like, as JOTA close in once more. It's going to come down to the chicanes. It's going to come down to the final corner of the 2-hour endurance, and that's going to surely have to be now some defending going on from Williams. JOTA are going to have to look to the outside here. Williams are going to have to go defensive. JOTA are going to try and lunge down the inside, are they? Here they come, trying to lunge down the inside. And oh no, big mistake. And that's a spin there from the JOTA team. Williams are going to take the win. Williams across the line. Give them a round of applause, everyone. Williams win the Autosport team's Invitational. It's their only chance to do it, and they're going to be going to the Mans Esports Series Super Final. And JOTA, heartbreak for them, but what an effort from the JOTA team. Well done, Jacob Bokit. A round of applause for them as well. But can we have one more round of applause for all 12 teams completing the 2-hour endurance? Thank you very much for joining us at the Motorsport Game stage. Williams celebrate to our left, Harry. What a fantastic race that was.
I mean, that lived up to its name, didn't it? We knew how big the prize was going to be, and they delivered a right performance to make sure it was worthy of it. I mean, what can you say about the Williams guys? They had so much pressure to hold on to that lead for the final stint, with the JOTA car coming from the last place and then coming through to fight for the lead. Just incredible. No, they really deserve it. You can see how much it means to them. They're over the moon.
Well, we're going to hear from the Williams team, but if you're around us, the Motorsport Games activation area is just behind you. You could be at Le Mans racing against the Williams team. All you have to do is go into the Motorsport Games activation area where the Le Mans Esports rigs are. You can set a time there, and if you're in the top 3 at the end of the weekend, you will also be racing at the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final. I need to lie down, Harry. For now, we're going to go down to Louise Beckett, who is with the Williams Esports team.
Thanks very much, Chris. Oh, guys, that was such a good race.
Yeah, it was amazing. It went right down to the end. I can't believe it.
You're through to Le Mans.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, Nico did a great job. We all did a great job, and I couldn't be happier.
The pressure was really on you at the end.
Yeah, it was so nervous. I can't even say anything. There is a team event, so it was more stressful for me because it's not only individual event, just a team one. So I'm so stressed that I can't even talk with you. So sorry.
Understandably, well done. You can celebrate and get ready to go to Le Mans. So, as I say, they're going straight through to Le Mans in June. For all our other teams, they will be competing for the next round online on the 1st of February, and they'll be tackling the Silverstone circuit. But for now, from us at Autosport, it's goodbye.
Well, Harry, there we go. What a fantastic race that was. Williams Esports taking the win. That last corner, we said it was going to when I said it's going to come down to the last corner, I thought maybe halfway through the last lap, if we were lucky as neutrals, but what an ending that was.
I enjoyed that so much. No, that was such good racing from start to finish. And what a story. We had Williams, who had the mistake on the first lap, fought their way back to the lead, and JOTA coming from the very back to take the fight to them on the last corner of the last lap after 2 hours. It was crazy stuff, and hats off to Williams, and obviously to JOTA and everyone else who took part in that. They really drove so well on such a high level that they all deserve a massive pat on the back from each other. They should be very proud of what they've achieved, a lot of them.
I think that said it perfectly. Before we close the show, we do just want to remind you of a promotion that Thrustmaster have going on at the moment. If you've been watching this and think, you know what, I'd love a bit of go at some esports, and why wouldn't you? Then we have a deal going on from Thrustmaster at the moment to get you started on exactly what you need. And maybe you can go to the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final. There is events going on Forza Motorsport 7. There is the deal that Thrustmaster are doing at the moment. It runs from the 9th to the 14th of January. You can see that promo code there. You use that and you get 10% off all of those things on screen, the wheel, the pedals and the shifter as well. At Box.Culture UK, that's where you need to finish to get that gear stick, the wheel and the pedals as well until the 14th of January, so make sure you do it. Of course, that's our first pro team, Harry, that's qualified. 6 more will go through via the pro team series, which we have 4 rounds remaining of that. As Louise said, that continues on the 1st of February. As for the Pro-Am teams, of course, the Rivals events is how you can qualify to compete in the Pro-Am teams. Not only that, you can also get through via the Autosport show here. So here, if you're going to be here tomorrow and you've been tuning in today, come to the Motorsport Games activation area. It's right by the stage. Yeah, you go over to the Le Mans Esports rigs and then you can set a time there. You can have a couple of goes at it as well. Set a time, and if you're in the top 3 at the end of the weekend, then you're going to qualify for the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final. If you're watching around the world, then qualifiers will also take place at the FIA World Endurance Championship rounds at Sebring and at Spa as well. But that's all from me and Harry. We'll be back on the 1st of February for the 2nd round of the Le Mans Esports Pro Team Series. Thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it. If you say you didn't, then I don't know how much more I can give you. A last corner, last lap shootout is exactly what we asked for. But thank you very much for tuning in. Check out the Le Mans Esports Series site for more details. For now, though, for myself and Harry, it's goodbye.